a dilapidated sect so poor it couldn't even afford basic necessities. Today, however, it is openly recruiting disciples from all over the world. There are no entry exams required, and room and board are fully covered. Only after joining did the man realize that within the vast sect, he was the only disciple, apart from his master. The only others were 6 reclusive senior uncles who never left their quarters. If those old fellows eventually ascended or passed away, the entire sect would be left with only him. Thinking about it, the man made a bold decision to take on a disciple. He was determined to accept a disciple. Today, he would accept anyone regardless of their aptitude. Continuing from the previous episode, new viewers are encouraged to start from the first episode. Now, let the main story begin. We've always said that the Qingyun sect must be destroyed as soon as possible, but no one ever believed us. Tin quickly responded. The predecessor isn't the current demon, but rather that there might be demonic entities arriving later. This is nothing more than a trick by the Qingyun sect. I didn't expect you to believe it too. Zhou Junshin wore an expression full of disdain. Even if a demon truly descends, to lessen the impact of the demonic disaster, shouldn't we act swiftly and eliminate those demonic figures in the Qingyun sect? If a demon does descend, the arrival of the demon overlord along with the 15 demon lords from the Qingyun sect, how many people in the world could still survive? Especially now that the Qingyun sect has allied with the demon lords. We have a traitor among us. The danger has become even greater. Therefore, we must deploy our most powerful forces before the demon overlord fully descends. We must quickly eradicate the Qingyun sect. Yiling was momentarily stunned. He came to warn the Wanling sect about the impending demon calamity. The Wanling sect turned the situation around to persuade others. They decided to join forces to destroy the Qingyun sect. 10 individuals left the Wanling sect in disgrace. Not only did no one believe the story about Capricorn, but they also faced opposition because Tianqing Island refused to agree. The plan to annihilate the Qingyun sect by the Wanling sect was disrupted. Zhou Junshin mocked them harshly. On the river of Tianqing Island, Jing Wenqing sighed deeply. He remarked that the Wanling sect and Qingyun sect had already become mortal enemies. They would not believe anything coming from us. Tin frowned deeply, paused for a moment in thought, said, "Let's pay a visit to the Great Snow Mountain. Does it make sense?" The literary enthusiast questioned in return. Tin gave a helpless smile, whether it makes sense or not. Since I've witnessed such a situation, I have no choice but to inform everyone. If no one takes it seriously, when the great disaster arrives, it seems that many people in the world of cultivation are destined to perish. What does that have to do with us? Wenqing shook her head slightly. After all, our Tianqing Island is isolated far out at sea. Their lives and deaths have nothing to do with us. Besides, it's just like the Wanling sect. Even if we told them, they wouldn't believe it. Yiling said with a smile, "Since I have seen the vision of the future, it means this is a revelation granted to me by the heavens. Whether they believe it or not is entirely up to them. Deciding whether to remind them is my responsibility. If every time I catch a glimpse of the future, I choose not to inform others about it, then what purpose does seeing those visions serve? If witnessing these visions holds no meaning at all, then my path of cultivation would also lose its purpose. Reminding them is what defines me as Capricorn, fulfilling my responsibility in cultivating the great path." When faced with these words, the literary enthusiast had no way to refute. He paused briefly, then said, "So you're saying you believed what Feng Chen said, thinking the demon lord will truly return?" "I believe it will happen." Yi Link nodded firmly. "It's not that I completely trust what Feng Chen said, but because I still can't figure out what the demon lord's purpose is for returning. 1,000 years ago, after the demon lord descended, he was then suppressed by the Qingyun sect. So the demon lord's goal was definitely not achieved. Since it wasn't accomplished, there's a chance the demon lord might return again." When it came to this point, Yiling couldn't help but laugh, and continued to say, "Unless the demon lord descended solely to destroy the Qingyun sect, or their purpose was simply to be imprisoned by the Qingyun sect, this reason is simply too far-fetched." The literary youth sighed deeply, and said that since You've made up your mind. Let's head to the Great Snow Mountain. After all, his mission is to protect Yiling. Since Yiling has decided to go to the Great Snow Mountain, it's certain that they will go. Yiling arrived at the Great Snow Mountain, which is equivalent to traveling from the far southern region of the cultivation world. Arrived in the far northern lands, spanning a distance of hundreds of thousands of miles. The elder of the Great Snow Mountain also did not make an appearance. Instead, he arranged for someone named He Daojing to accompany Lung Qin Feng in meeting Yiling. Afterward, Yiling naturally brought up the matter of the demonic calamity. The reaction from the Great Snow Mountain, while not as intense as that of the Wanling sect, still showed that the Great Snow Mountain didn't take it seriously. In everyone's view, if there truly exists a calamity of demons in the world, it must originate from the Qingyun sect. As for the claim that the demon will descend again, that's pure nonsense. Because for the demon to descend again, there must be a fully justified reason. Let me ask, what purpose would the demon serve by coming? The demon from the Qingyun sect was purely an accident, and also a stroke of bad luck for the Qingyun sect. No one would ever think that the battlefield of prodigies is connected to the demons, because it has been over 3,000 years. The battlefield of prodigies has shown no trace of demonic aura at all. As for the hall that remains sealed, everyone assumes their strength is insufficient, or they haven't discovered the correct method. What does it have to do with demons? Under these circumstances, Yiling once again left the snowy mountain in disappointment. Immediately after, Yiling headed to the Shuyi Pass, still without any results. By the time they arrived at the Langya sacred land, the situation improved slightly. Perhaps it was due to the Langya sacred land being a place primarily for scholars. They behaved in a courteous and refined manner. Even when it came to questions about Capricorn, everyone maintained a thoughtful perspective and did not outright dismiss it. However, this was still not sufficient for Yiling. He still needed to continue giving reminders, to keep visiting other sects. Meanwhile, atop the Qingyun sect, an overwhelming aura suddenly erupted and spread out in all directions. The crowd waiting in Qingyun town paused in surprise for a moment before, quickly realizing what had happened. Someone in Qingyun sect had ascended to the Riverway realm. When they thought of someone in Qingyun sect reaching the Riverway realm, all the independent cultivators were thrilled. The person giving the sermon has returned. Countless people started preparing gifts, waiting for news of the banquet hosted by Qingyun sect. A multitude of people eagerly anticipated the Qingyun sect's banquet. At this moment, if many of the independent cultivators still don't realize that Qingyun sect hosting the banquet is a form of generosity, then they are unworthy of pursuing the path of cultivation. The etiquette and traditions of Qingyun sect, Qinjianzi, Danqinzi, and Linjianzi, along with Feng Chun, were all already standing beside Bihua Feng, waiting for Walingzi to emerge from seclusion. This time, it was Walingzi who had achieved a breakthrough to the Dao realm. Everyone had been waiting for 3 days before they finally saw Walingzi step out. When they laid eyes on Walingzi, it was as if they could feel the natural flow of the laws of heaven and earth, as runes seemed to manifest out of thin air. The fifth martial uncle knows your skills in talisman crafting are extraordinary, so there's no need to stand out too much. Feng Chun teased Hualingzi. Honestly, at this moment, Hualingzi looked incredibly impressive. The countless runes automatically forming created a remarkable sight. It was as if he were a person surrounded by fluttering sheets of paper. Hualingzi, who was walking over, glared at Feng Chun before politely greeting the 3 senior brothers one by one. Qin Yunzi nodded with a gentle smile. Speaking of your fortune path, it is quite unique. Lin Jianzi and Dan Chenzi asked with a curious expression. Can't you manage to contain these situations? This phenomenon of generating fortune out of nowhere. It certainly carries an imposing aura, but it is quite inconvenient in daily life. Walinzi shook his head and said with a hint of helplessness, I haven't fully stabilized my realm yet. I sensed that you were waiting. I stepped out first. Once my cultivation level stabilizes completely, I should be able to restrain myself. Besides, if I just broke through to the river path realm now, my emotions would naturally be a bit intense. That kid Fong Chun gave me a secret technique for creating mind energy talismans. Now, with just a single thought, blessings and fortune arise naturally. Once I calm down, I should also be able to restrain myself much more. Qing Yun. Z smiled and shook his head, saying it's perfectly fine for us to wait a bit longer. You can absolutely wait until everything is fully stabilized before coming out. Still, congratulations are in order for you. You've also reached the path of harmony. Many congratulations to you. Dan Shin Z and Ling Yun Z both chimed in one after another. Fong Chen also stepped forward with a cheerful grin and said, "Fifth martial uncle, congratulations on achieving harmony." Hua Lin Z cast a glance at Fong Chen. Asking the three senior brothers for guidance is one thing. A simple congratulations from a junior is another matter. Fong Chen stepped forward. With a mysterious tone, he said, "I prepared a gift for you. You should be quite delighted. The legendary dragon pointing brush, used by Sheng Shi for 800 years. A third-grade spiritual energy dragon pointing brush, nurtured by Sheng Shi's energy for 800 years. It even carries an aura of righteous energy. Using it to paint for you would be incredibly satisfying." Hua Linzi broke into a joyful smile. He took the dragon point pen. He nodded repeatedly with satisfaction, feeling it was worth the care. "I'm pleased with this gift." He didn't even ask Fong Chun why there was a dragon point pen from Sheng Shi. Anyway, Fong Chun must have his reasons. Fong Chun looked at Hua Linzi with a cheerful grin and asked, "Fifth Uncle Master, are you happy with the gift? As long as you're satisfied, that's what matters. Since you've ascended to the Tao realm, we should celebrate this achievement. Let's prepare a feast. Fifth Uncle Master, please take your time to stabilize your state of mind. Leave the arrangements for the banquet to me. I'll handle sending out the invitations for you." Walinzi's smile instantly froze. Kinji Yunzi and Linji Yunzi, and Kinzi and the other two. Without saying a word, they tacitly kept the truth from Hualinzi. Shaking his head, he walked away. "It's just someone at the river realm level. It's hardly something worth celebrating." Hualinzi forced a smile. Fong Chun suggested, "Why not wait until I reach the tribulation realm? Then we can properly celebrate." "Fifth martial uncle, what kind of words are those?" Fong Chun gave a peculiar smile, saying Qingyan Town alone has at least 100,000 row cultivators, all waiting eagerly to bring us gifts. The moment you host a banquet, we end up with an overwhelming pile of gifts and benefits. How could we possibly let that opportunity slip by? Hualinzi's face turned pale in an instant. He suddenly felt as though he'd become a beggar, using the name of a grand banquet to beg from countless cultivators across the world, and most importantly, to plead for alms from solitary cultivators. This is it, my lifetime's reputation, my pride of hundreds of years. All of it is about to be completely ruined. Hualinzi had only one thought in his mind. He felt that this had nothing to do with the breakthrough of the Tao realm. His focus was entirely away from the blessings and prosperity. In an instant, the state of blessings floating around him disappeared. Fong Chun did not call him out directly. He turned around to make arrangements for the grand banquet. Hualinzi was utterly disheartened. It took him a great deal of effort to calm his emotions. He returned to his own room. About the banquet set up by Hualinzi, Fong Chun did not extend invitations to other sects across the land. He simply passed the news to Qingyan Town. After 5 days of preparation, the gates of Qingyun's sect were open wide to welcome the procession of gift-givers climbing the mountain. When he saw that countless independent cultivators were truly bringing gifts, Hualinzi was completely stunned. The only thing that surprised him was that this group of independent cultivators seemed to give their gifts willingly. Each one of them appeared genuinely delighted to be offering their gifts. Tens of thousands of people sat densely packed in a martial arts arena. Only then did Fong Chun inform Hualinzi to come and give a lecture. It was at that moment Hualinzi realized he had been tricked. That brat, he inwardly cursed Fong Chun for a while. Afterwards, he felt much more at ease. He then headed to the Yinwu field to deliver a lecture to countless independent cultivators. Compared to the lectures given by Ling Yun Zi and Dan Shin Zi, Hualinzi's teachings held greater significance for independent cultivators. because Ling Yunzi's swordsmanship and Dan Shanzi's mastery of alchemy, while unique, had their own limitations. However, it holds little value for the majority of independent cultivators. Typically, those with talent in swordsmanship or alchemy. How could they possibly become independent cultivators? As for Hua Linzi's guidance, it involves the manipulation of worldly energy and the comprehension of universal laws. This is precisely what matters most to many independent cultivators. It is the most essential knowledge for them. And during Hua Linzi's teachings, he showed no hesitation in sharing it all. In passing, the concepts of elemental energy in the world were explained in detail. The way it was explained turned out to be exceptionally effective. When Walinzi finished his explanation, dozens of people made breakthroughs on the spot. After that, countless people returned to Qingyun town with deep gratitude. Those who needed to go into seclusion started their retreats. Those who needed to work on construction sites went back to their jobs. Those who needed to continue working resumed their tasks. That kid really gave me a scare. When the explanation was finished, Linzi looked at Fong Chun helplessly. Are you trying to use this explanation to win them over? Did it work at all? Fifth Uncle Master, you can doubt everything else. But when it comes to winning people's trust, you're far behind in that aspect. Don't worry. From now on, countless wandering cultivators will belong to our Qingyun sect. Fong Chun said confidently. By the way, Uncle Master, you're now a grandmaster in the art of talismans suitable for the Taoist realm. Keep working on creating some new runes for me. I have a few ideas in mind. See if you can bring them to life. I'm planning to transform Qingyun City into a city that never sleeps. You need to solve the lighting problem for me. At that moment, Hualin felt his head was about to explode. Why does it feel like he's about to become a workhorse again? He quickly said, You little brat, didn't I tell you before? Some talismans can only be drawn after I reach the river path realm. Am I right? As he spoke further, he lowered his voice. With a peculiar expression, he said, I'm at the river path realm now. Should we give it a try? Fong Cheng's eyes lit up. He also lowered his voice and asked about the 3 talismans. Which one are you planning to try first? Dalin chuckled and said, Yellow Spring Guiding Talisman. At the moment, this is the only talisman I can draw. I feel like the power of this talisman must be extraordinary, but I can only sense its power. It's terrifying, yet I can't pinpoint the exact reason. Only after I finish drawing it will I know the true situation. Why don't we give it a try? Fong Chun nodded firmly, then suddenly shook his head again. Quickly said, There's no rush. Even if we need to try, we can't test it within our sect's territory. By then, the master will scold us for causing trouble in the sect again. He understands very well. These are all ghost talismans. Are ghost talismans something that can be tested casually? If something happens to the sect, wouldn't that mean bringing harm to ourselves? Master Uncle, wait for me a moment. Let me go and summon 2 demons. Leave the Qingyun continent to explore. Fong Chun immediately headed to the forbidden grounds of the Western Mountain. Hualinzi felt a bit uneasy in his heart. He actually brought demons along for the mission. However, he is now aligned with the Dao realm. He possesses a Dao domain strong enough to counter adversaries. The demonic aura should not pose a problem. After that, Fong Chun brought along 2 demons and Hualinzi. They secretly snuck out of the Qingyun sect. Find a place to test the ghost talisman. This place should work, right? Walinzi has already traveled 2,000 to 3,000 miles away from Qingyun sect. It should be fine to draw the talisman here. But Fong Chun shook his head seriously, leaving the Qingyun continent entirely. This is a ghost talisman after all, and it's the Yellow Springs Guiding Talisman. Who knows what might appear? What if it shows up on our own territory? That's when he found himself in trouble. This is why he brought along 2 demon guardians, hoping to travel a bit farther to draw talismans. Duoer and Guyen were somewhat intrigued. These 2 acted suspiciously and insisted on taking them along. What exactly are they planning? Soon, the 2 humans and 2 demons began heading south. They traveled over 6,000 to 8,000 miles away from Qingyun, seeing the battlefield of prodigies drawing closer and closer. Fong Chun felt a sudden shift in his heart, simply decided to head straight to the battlefield of geniuses. After all, with 2 demons as protection, The safety of their lives shouldn't be much of an issue. However, they ultimately chose not to approach the battlefield of geniuses. Fang Chun pointed to the enormous blessing in the distance and spoke to Gujor and Gyan. This is the fortune spirit pool you've been searching for all along. Right now, it's not safe to get closer. I hope you can exercise restraint. The area surrounding the creation spirit pool was once fortified with a restriction set up by the strongest warriors of the world. So even if you try to approach, it would be pointless and might instead draw the attention of other sects. 3,000 years ago, the founder of the Qingyun sect also played a role in reinforcing these restrictions. These restrictions were designed collaboratively by nearly the 10 most powerful individuals in the world, and their combined efforts created these formations, which possess immense power. Upon seeing the creation spirit pool, Wu Yin couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. In contrast, Wu Duoer appeared much calmer. He quietly observed the creation spirit pool. After a long while, he slowly said, "The restriction is indeed formidable. At present, we have no way to open it. Perhaps if everyone combined their strength, we might be able to break through. Of course, that would require all of us to have our magic weapons in hand. It will definitely be able to open when the time comes for me to agree with you. Talk about it later," Fang Chen responded. He also didn't promise to make ice for everyone. "All right, you two have already seen the creation spirit pool. Now, please stay alert and cautious. We are preparing to attempt drawing a talisman." Fang Chun reminded Guder and Gyan. "The spirit transformer is already eager to begin." Duo reminded, "It's better to stay a bit farther away from the creation spirit pool. A river realm cultivator needs to draw talismans. The power is at least equivalent to a full strike from a river realm cultivator." Now they are once again confronted with the restrictions of the battlefield of prodigies. It is highly likely to alert other sects. Fang Chun thought for a moment. He decided to retreat 1,000 miles. In fact, he believed the ghost talisman might not necessarily invoke the laws of heaven and earth. Perhaps it wouldn't trigger the restrictions of the battlefield of prodigies. "Uncle, you can begin now," Fang Chun reminded Hua Linzi with a serious expression. Hua Linzi's demeanor turned solemn. He glanced at Fang Chun, then shifted his gaze to the two demons. "All right, I'll start now." Fang Chun decisively positioned himself between the two demons, worried that something unexpected might happen. He motioned to Hua Linzi. Hua Linzi began by taking out the Dragon Point pen. The power of the Dragon Point brush is indeed stronger than his original spirit brush. He wielded the Dragon Point brush with movements as fluid as a dragon and snake, making a single stroke across the heavens and earth. Then, everyone seemed to see a thick ink mark appearing between the sky and the ground. That enormous ink mark lingered for a long time without fading. Fang Chun stood there, completely stunned. Walinzi was stunned. What's going on? Wasn't it just a talisman that was drawn? Why did ink marks appear instead? Meanwhile, Guder and Gyan looked as if they were facing a great enemy. They shouted in a deep voice. Their senses were alerted by the demon's warning. Walinzi's heart skipped a beat. He immediately stepped back, and then everyone watched as the ink-like mark slowly began to spread. After the ink mark had spread, Fang Chun and Hua Linzi finally saw clearly. It wasn't an ink mark at all. It turned out to be a pitch-black abyssal crack that appeared right in front of everyone. Wu Duoer tilted his head and glanced at Fang Chun and asked seriously, "What kind of symbol did you draw? How did you end up opening the ghost gate?" What Fang Chun and Hua Linzi shouted in alarm. "Is the purpose of the underworld guiding talisman to open the ghost gate? Senior, is there some issue with this?" Fang Chun hurriedly asked. Wu Duoer spoke in a somber tone. He quickly responded, "The heavenly demon specter. When it comes to these ghosts, everyone avoids discussing them because they are rarely seen in ordinary times. Their whereabouts remain unknown. It is said that they have a ghost realm, much like your cultivation world. It serves as the destination for the dead. Only those who have passed away can witness this world. And now you've opened the gates to the ghost realm. I honestly have no idea what might happen." The usually stoic Guder even found himself at a loss for words. If he had known earlier that these two were here to open the ghost gates, he would have chosen someone else to accompany these two. And these two people are incredibly audacious. The ghost realm is rumored to be the domain of the Ghost Emperor. It also represents the authority of the Ghost Emperor. Two living humans have suddenly opened the gate to the ghost world. This is essentially an affront to the Ghost Emperor's authority. Who knows what kind of disaster this might provoke? Rustling sounds filled the air. Everyone heard the faint sound of flowing water, and then they saw a yellow river emerge and spread forth from the dark chasm below. However, this yellow river does not rest upon the earth. It drifts aimlessly everywhere, spreading chaotically between heaven and earth. The yellow springs, Gujor and Gu Yin instantly pulled Fong Chen backward, keeping a safe distance from that yellow river. This yellow springs is a manifestation of the death rules in the ghost realm. If you don't hurry up and close the ghost gate, what are you waiting for? If you keep waiting any longer, the cultivation world might end up being completely overtaken by the ghost realm. However, both Fong Chun and Hua Lingzi looked utterly confused. They had absolutely no idea how to close the ghost gate. You need to think of a solution quickly, Hua Lingzi hurriedly said to Fong Chun, because all three talismans were given to him by Fong Chun, and he himself was completely at a loss for what to do. Perhaps only Fong Chun could come up with a way. Fong Chun swallowed nervously. He hurriedly recalled the inheritance of the Ghost Palace, searching for a way inside to close the ghost gate. At that very moment, countless shadowy troops and horses emerged along the yellow springs. These countless soldiers and horses seemed completely unaware of Fong Chun and the others, and appeared intangible, unable to be touched, faintly wandering between heaven and earth. The ancient Yin soldier Gudwa was utterly speechless, wasn't he? The ghost gate opened wide. The yellow springs revealed the passage of the Yin soldiers. The situation spiraled further out of control. Hua Linzi was completely dumbfounded. He held the dragon pin tightly in his hand, utterly at a loss for what to do. How could he have known that drawing just one charm would lead to so many unexpected events? Maybe I should try drawing it in reverse. Hua Linzi quickly asked in a panic. Will drawing it in reverse seal it back for me? Fong Chen suddenly arrived next to the forest of paintings and took the dragon point brush. Holding the dragon point brush in his hand, he smeared it over the abyssal crack. Because even within the inheritance of the Ghost Palace, he couldn't find a way to close the ghost gate. But he thought to himself, since this talisman was drawn by his mother, wouldn't erasing it solve the problem? If it were any other time, he's absolutely too afraid to do something like this. However, inside the ghost hall, he absorbed an immense amount of ghostly energy. He inherited the legacy of the ghost hall. There's also a strong possibility that he obtained endless fortune from the ghost clans. In other words, there's a high probability that he won't be harmed by imperial power or ghostly soldiers. When Fong Chun wielded the dragon pointing brush, the small hand of the nascent soul in his purple mansion also moved. As the dragon pointing brush swept through, the streak of black across the sky was gradually wiped away. The abyssal rift slowly vanished. This scene left the spirit transformation disciple utterly stunned. He stood there, wide-eyed and speechless. How on earth was this ghost gate closed? What's going on here? A perfectly intact ghost gate, closed right before their very eyes. They could do nothing but watch helplessly as it happened. And it closed in such an unimaginable way. Watching the ghost gate gradually close, Fong Chen couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. All of a sudden, a green light emerged from where the ghost gate disappeared and shot into Fong Chen's body. Hua Linzi, Wu Duoer, Gu Yin, and the others watched helplessly as Fong Chun used a pen to erase the ghost talisman and close the ghost gate. Just as they were beginning to feel relieved, the green light was seen fading into Fong Chen's body. Hua Linzi's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly rushed over, anxiously asking, "How do you feel now?" He quickly turned back and instructed Gudwa and Gaian to hurry. Let's return to the sect immediately to find senior brother. Gudwa and Gaian also looked grim. One after another, they boarded the flying beast. and sped towards the Qingyun sect. Fang Chun saw the green light disappear into his body. He was also taken aback. However, he didn't feel overly concerned. After all, his soul was still protected by the soul-calming banner. But then he saw something unexpected. That green light pierced right through the protection of the soul-calming banner. It headed straight for his nascent soul. In that moment, as his heart and mind were shaken to the core, he then saw the green light land on the hand of his nascent soul. It formed a unique mark. At that moment, Fang Chun was completely stunned. His thoughts lingered on the reason. He glanced at that mark. No matter how thoroughly he examined it, he couldn't figure out what purpose the mark served. It was completely impossible to decipher anything about the mark. However, it was something that came from the ghost realm, and it was also the key to sealing the ghost gate. He was certain it wasn't simple at all. The four of them hurriedly made their way back to the sect. As soon as they arrived, Hualinzi anxiously called out for the senior brother. Something went wrong. Qin Jianzi appeared instantly. He inquired about what had happened. He glanced at Gujor and Gaian. He instructed them to return to the forbidden area of Shishan. The restrictions have already been lifted for your entry. You can go straight back now. Gujor and Gaian turned around and left. Then Qin Jianzi took Fang Chun and Hualinzi. They went to his room and sat down. Asked with a serious expression, "What has you all so alarmed?" Hualin activated his divine sense. Instantly explained the matter of opening and closing the ghost gate. Qin Yun was left speechless. These guys really have guts. He let out a sigh, gave instructions to Hualin, saying, "All right, it's nothing, I will handle it. Stop casually drawing those ghost talismans from now on. Everything here must be handled with utmost caution. You should head back first. Leave the rest to me." Hualinzi gave a slight nod. He returned and gestured to seal it. He was fully aware that the master and disciple shared a secret. Since the senior disciple didn't want him to know, it clearly meant this matter was of great significance. After Hualinzi had left, Qin Yanzi gave Fang Chun a peculiar look. Inquire about how to proceed. Compared to others, he is not the least bit worried that Fang Chun might encounter any issues, because he knows Fang Chun has received great fortune, the accumulated luck of the Spirit Hall over thousands of years, and the fortune accumulated by mortals, demons, monsters, and ghosts over millennia. On top of that, Fang Chun himself has inherited the Ghost Hall's legacy. The cause of it all lies in the absorption of an immense amount of ghostly power. How could anything possibly go wrong? Right now, he only wants to find out what exactly happened. Fang Chun's expression was full of hesitation. He said, "Master, it would be better if you came to examine my purple mansion yourself." He opened up his purple mansion, inviting his master's divine sense to observe. When Qin Jianzi saw the mark on Fang Chun's hand, his brows furrowed deeply. Although Fang Chun's situation was indeed peculiar, a mark directly linked to the ghost realm appearing, could it indicate other potential issues? He focused intently on examining that mark. After staring at it for a long time, he still couldn't figure it out. It just seemed like an ordinary tattoo on someone, like a simple birthmark. There was absolutely nothing unusual about it. However, the lack of abnormalities itself was the most unusual thing. After pondering over it for quite some time, Qin Jianzi finally withdrew his spiritual focus and slowly said, "I can only sense that within this mark, there are powerful principles of the great Tao. It seems to be the ghost Tao principles. As for the rest, I can't discern it either. You kid, didn't I tell you not to casually teach those ghost Tao and demon techniques to just anyone? Look at this mess. It almost caused a huge problem." Fang Chun quickly offered a sheepish smile and said, "Master, the martial uncle practices the path of blessings. I think these ghost talismans might possibly enhance the power of fifth Uncle Fu's skills. But I never expected the underworld guiding talisman would actually be the key to opening the ghost gate. However, there's no need to worry now. The ghost gate has already been sealed." Qin Jianzi's expression turned serious, and he shook his head. It seems it might not be that simple after all. He sat down, counting on his fingers. He mentioned that the cultivation world originally had demons. 1,000 years ago, a group of devils suddenly appeared. Now you have opened the gate to the underworld. Ghosts have begun to emerge. Now the immortals, devils, demons, and ghosts are all gathered together. Kid, what idea just crossed your mind? The palace of creation. Fang Chen blurted out instinctively. Gathering more than half of the immortals, devils, demons, and ghosts will allow you to unlock the palace of creation. Although the temple of creation has already been opened. When Fang Chen and the others entered the temple of creation, there was always a missing piece. But now everything has finally come together. Master, I have already closed the gate of ghosts. The ghost only revealed its traces. It shouldn't count as fully appearing, right? Fang Chen hurriedly asked again. Qing Yunzi let out a sigh and said, let's hope that's the case. He felt that an unseen path seemed to trace its way forward, but he had no idea where it would ultimately lead. Fang Chen paid no attention to it. After having a brief discussion with his master, the strokes of the brush led him to find the forest of paintings. Fifth uncle, let's study this once more. The ghost talisman is to be drawn again. Lin Zi widened his eyes and refused to continue. I will never draw that ghost talisman again. Fortunately, he didn't draw the ghostly symbol at Qingyun's sect. Otherwise, Qingyun's sect might have faced a second disaster. Fang Chen lowered his voice, grinning as he suggested we study this, and later draw it at other sects. Like the Wanling sect, haven't they been hostile to us for 1,000 years? When the time comes, we can quietly sneak in a Wanling sect, draw a ghostly symbol for them, and then we can sit back and enjoy the show. While Lindsay's eyes lit up, he cautiously asked, then keep studying it further. You lightly draw a ghost symbol. Don't make it too large. As long as you feel something is off, I'll immediately erase the ghost symbol. Fang Chen nodded repeatedly, while Lindsay took out the dragon brush and reminded Fang Chen to stay alert. Unable to hold back any longer, Qin Jianzi, who was hidden in the shadows, acted. These two had just managed to open the ghost gate not long ago, and now they were sneaking around again, whispering and plotting together. How could he not pay attention to such behavior? Then, he overheard their conversation. These two were actually planning to draw ghost symbols within the sect. This was their own sect, after all. They were even planning to enter the array formation space. With an exasperated tone, Qin Jianzi remarked, something happened, and the formation space is still suppressing it. Afterwards, he led Fang Chen and Hua Linzi into the formation space. Then he stood aside, quietly observing. Draw it. Let me see what the ghost gate looks like after it opens. Hua Linzi reminded the two to stay alert. Then he waved the dragon point brush, and once again he opened the ghost gate. A pitch-black abyss-like crack appeared in the formation space, resembling an ink stain. The ink mark remained completely unchanged. The three exchanged puzzled glances. They turned their eyes back to the ink mark, their faces filled with confusion. Qin Yunzi asked curiously with a strange expression, where's the river of souls and the ghost soldiers? Wasn't the gate to the underworld supposed to open? While Lindsay held the paintbrush in his hand and cautiously asked, should I draw another stroke? Fankin urjid Hualinzi glanchedat Qinjunzi. Raising his hand, he drew another ghost talisman. There was still no change. He drew another ghost talisman again, and then another ghost talisman. He continuously drew 7 or 8 ghost talismans. Suddenly, an incredibly terrifying aura emerged from the 7 or 8 ghost gates, accompanied by a reprimanding shout of nonsense. All the ghostly gates were shut instantly. The ghostly gates closed suddenly, and the terrifying aura, along with that message emanating from the ghostly gates, startled Qin Yunzi. Hua Linzi and Fang Chen were also taken aback. They had never anticipated the absence of the Yellow Springs, nor did the ghostly soldiers appear. Instead, a horrifyingly dense fog emerged. And this extremely terrifying fog, though it carried a tone of reprimand. But instead, he just firmly shut the ghost gate and let it go at that. Are you still drawing? Fang Chen glanced at Qin Jianzi and Hua Linzi. Qin Jianzi quickly gathered up Fang Chen and Hua Linzi, and they appeared at Qingyun Peak. It was only then that Hua Linzi realized what was happening and hastily said, I won't draw anymore. Never again will I draw. Last time, summoning the Yellow Springs and the ghost soldiers, he knew he had stirred up a huge mess. This time, an incredibly terrifying ghostly entity has appeared. Continuing to draw would truly be crossing the line. The outcome doesn't seem favorable no matter how you look at it. Kinjiunzi said with a serious tone. Ghost talismans must not be used carelessly. That horrifying aura from earlier. Even he felt a chill of fear and dread. It could be imagined that it must be an unbelievably terrifying ghost. If such a ghostly being is provoked, it could truly lead to a catastrophic disaster. What struck him as odd was why that terrifying ghostly being only reprimanded, but didn't take any further action. His gaze instinctively shifted toward Fong Chun. If there truly is something unusual, it must be connected to Fong Chun, whether it's because of Fong Cheng's reasoning or the mark obtained not long ago. Both are closely tied to the ghost realm. Fong Chun, the fifth brother. Don't mention that green light to anyone else. Qing Yunzi advised. Understood, senior brother. Walinzi quickly nodded. He had already noticed something unusual. All right, stop studying the ghost talisman. Qing Yunzi reminded the two again. Unless necessary, don't come disturb me. I still need to let that group see the demon. Today is the day Qingyun Museum displays the demon. The responsibility for this task fell upon Kinjiunzi. Naturally, Kinjiunzi would not personally appear as a tour guide. The actual tour guides were still the staff of the Qingyun Museum. However, the responsibility ultimately rested with Kinjiunzi. Nonetheless, it was Kinjiunzi who had to bear the burden. Blame the demon for being revealed to others. About showcasing the demon. Qing Yunzi and Fong Chun. In the end, they still failed to bring Gudu and the others. Truly made everyone gather to watch. These fiends are all formidable individuals, even though there is deep animosity. Putting these fiends on display as an exhibit would be excessive. That would truly be going too far. The ones actually being showcased as fiends are in fact the simulated fiends created by Kinjiunzi. The demonic techniques practiced by those simulated fiends are nearly indistinguishable from those of real fiends. They are observed within the environment of the formation space, without reaching the tribulation stage. Such a powerful being, no one could truly distinguish whether the demon was real or not. And those ordinary people who finally caught sight of the demon, and the cultivators, when they saw the demon, though it was massive, and though it was terrifying, it posed no significant threat. Their fear in their hearts gradually subsided. Even casual conversations began to include mentions of the demon. For most people, what's the big deal about the demon anyway? Even tigers can attack humans. A tiger that's been set free is naturally terrifying. But is a caged tiger still intimidating? What about a demon? This is the demon of our Qingyun sect, not a demon from elsewhere. Even if it's a demon, it's still one of our own. Among them, there were also delegations who visited the last military exercise. They even made a personal appearance to explain about the villain and how they helped intercept the dangers of the explosion. As a result, this further supported the idea that the villain was one of their own. The changes in Qingyun Town made many rogue cultivators from various sects who came to cause trouble. One after another feel deeply frustrated. They realized the cultivators living in Qingyun Town had absolutely no complaints at all, even when they had just intended to cause trouble. They were immediately fooled by a group of wandering cultivators. We need to secretly discuss this matter outside Qingyun Town, so as to avoid being overheard by the Qingyun sect. After leading them out of Qingyun Town, a group of wandering cultivators would swarm together and beat them to death with random sticks. When they are beaten to death, we should let them know that it is because of our Qingyun Town. You actually dare to try and destroy Qingyun Town. It must be an enemy, and an enemy must be eliminated. This situation left other sects speechless. They could only silently watch Qingyun Town's development. At this moment in the world, aside from Yiling visiting other sects everywhere, claiming there was still a demonic calamity approaching, nothing significant has changed. But in places unseen by these sects, is there really no change happening? When Walinzi opened the ghostly gate, a spring suddenly emerged deep within Yunmeng's. The spring was quite small. What bubbled up was entirely yellow water. After this, yellow water surfaced. It seeped into the surroundings, instantly turning the area into a small yellowish pool. Shortly after, the yellow spring kept bubbling continuously with a gurgling sound. A tiny yellow pool formed. The water continued to accumulate more and more. It quickly overflowed and spilled out. However, the yellow mist of water vanished into the vast waters of Yunmings, spreading across the entirety of Yunmings. All of a sudden, several ghost soldiers emerged from the spring. Yunmings. A few ghost soldiers followed the trail of the yellow mist. After a while, the ghostly soldiers vanished again. This yellow mist is clearly the water of the yellow springs. 1 month later, the yellow springs water gushing from the yellow spring increased steadily. It has now spread to an area of about 1 mile. This yellow mist enveloped everything around it. The laws of heaven and earth in the surroundings also began to shift subtly. The stones, tainted by the yellow springs water, transformed into stones carrying an aura of death. The trees, having been soaked in the waters of the yellow spring, turned into trees imbued with an aura of death. And many of the creatures within Yunmings, after coming into contact with the waters of the yellow spring, died instantly, while those that did not perish transformed into creatures carrying the aura of death. The changes in Yunmings were entirely unknown to anyone. This place has always been an inherently dangerous land, though it is not as renowned as the 10,000 Mountains. However, it is also a forbidden land in the hearts of countless cultivators. As for why it is considered forbidden, many people can't clearly explain. Only a few truly great practitioners are capable of setting foot in Yunmings, in which great practitioner would casually venture into Yunmings. Naturally, the depths of Yunmings continue to undergo changes. 3 months later, all of a sudden, a dark figure emerged from the spring of the Yellow Springs River. As soon as the dark figure appeared, the once 1 mile radius of the Land of Death began to expand rapidly and instantly spread to over 10 miles. Everything within this area started changing drastically. The dark figure was draped in a black cloak, which completely covered its body, making it impossible to discern any specific details. The black cloak floated upward, drifting away beyond Yunmings. At the same time, the terrifying aura surrounding the shadow gradually subsided, and then became completely calm. From the outside, there was no visible indication of any change. The direction in which the shadow departed from Yunmings was precisely toward the Langya continent. In half a day's time, the shadow reached Langya continent, came into contact with a second-tier sect. It was called Chishan Academy. A shadow silently moved toward Chishan Academy, drifted over without making a sound. A shroud of deathly aura had already enveloped Chishan Academy. What? Chishan Academy has vanished. When Shengshi heard the news, he was completely stunned. A perfectly fine academy. How could it just disappear? What exactly is going on? The Holy Master hurriedly asked. With a solemn expression, Tu Shan replied. Yesterday, Dean Dai of Shaoshan Academy had some matters to attend to. He would have visit Chishan Academy. After arriving at Chishan Academy, he felt that the academy was unusually quiet. Only then did he break into the academy to check, and discovered that the entire academy was completely deserted, from the dean all the way down to the students. None remain. Have there been any other discoveries? The sage inquired. Tushan couldn't help but show a bitter smile, saying that after I received the news, I went to investigate personally, and found that the entire Chishan Academy showed no signs of any damage, as if the entire Chishan Academy had left together with its people. Everything has been relocated. All right, all the crafting materials in the academy, including alchemy herbs, spirit stones, and so on, were left untouched. Even the expression of the sage master turned grave. If this group of people were killed, no matter how formidable the opponent, there should at least be some traces left behind. If we say this group of cultivators relocated, why didn't they take those valuables with them? And where could such a group possibly move to? The sage pondered for a long time, and then told Tushan to send someone to Chishan Academy again, to search around the vicinity of Chishan Academy. Oh, and make a trip to Qingyun sect to ask Feng Chen. whether that kid has taken the person away from me. Tushan turned and hurriedly left to make arrangements for the matter. The sage frowned deeply, lost in silent thought, completely unable to understand why such a situation had occurred. Right now, he can only wait for updates from all sides before making any further decisions. After Tushan assigned others to investigate the Qishan Academy, he himself dashed off to Qinyan's sect, and upon meeting Fang Chun, Tushan Engedi remarked, "You're being completely unreasonable. We've already sent people over to help you build the academy. You actually sent someone to collude with our people and took everyone away." He deliberately tricked Fang Chun into coming over. Fang Chun couldn't help but pause in surprise. "What do you mean by taking people away? Who was taken away?" Fang Chun asked. Tushan replied irritably. "Our Qishan Academy of Langya Continent. Such a large academy. Are you not the one who took them away?" Fang Chun was momentarily stunned. Could it be that a disciple of Qin Yun was responsible for this? Who could possess such remarkable ability? Even people from Tushan have come to demand justice. Fang Chun instinctively assumed that someone from Qin Yun continent had truly taken away the Qishan Academy. "Senior Tushan, please don't be hasty just yet." Fang Chun smiled and tried to calm Tushan down. "I will immediately go investigate now to find out what exactly is going on. He needs to fully understand the situation before proceeding." After that, he went to find Ling Yunzi and Hua Linzi and said, "My two respected mentors, I will need to trouble you to make a trip to Yunting and Yinshan to inquire with Wang Bail and ask if Zhang Changshan and his team sent anyone to Langya Continent. Also, check with the Yunting Empire and Yinshan Empire to see if they have had any interactions with Qishan Academy. Finally, make sure to inquire with Aunt Liang as well. Gather all the information thoroughly. Quietly report back to me first. If Qishan Academy really comes to the Qingyun continent, there's no doubt about it. He will definitely find a way to protect his people." Ling Yunzi and Hua Lingzi quickly departed one after another. Fang Chun sent a message to Yusong, instructing Yusong to go and find Jiang Jiqiu to check and see, has someone from Qishan Academy recently come to Qingyun town? After that, he waited for updates from all sides. Several hours later, Lin Jianzi and Hua Lingzi both returned one after the other. Jiang Ziqiu also sent back news. Upon receiving the information, Fang Chun furrowed his brows. He turned toward Tushan and inquired if something had happened at Qishan Academy. Everything had vanished. Tushan gazed intently at Fang Chun. On the surface, it appeared they left on their own. "We speculate that it must be the case. Have you arrived at your Qingyun continent yet?" Fang Chun shook his head slightly. He wouldn't joke about such a serious matter. "I have gathered information from various sources. I have never heard of the name Qishan. Not even Qingyun town. Has anyone from the Qishan Academy entered?" Fang Chun spoke with a serious expression. There wasn't a single living soul to be found at Qishan Academy. They left without leaving any trace behind. He found himself growing curious as well. Could it be that Qishan Academy truly vanished without a trace? Tushan could tell Fang Chun wasn't joking around. He recounted the events surrounding Qishan Academy, then let out a sigh. He said with worry that if they hadn't come to the Qingyun continent, that would have been a real problem. No matter which continent one travels to, it does not matter which continent it is. For the Langya continent, this is undoubtedly a provocation. This is considered a challenge to Langya continent. Which major sect dares to make a move against the sanctity of Langya? I need to return and report the situation here to the Shangshi. Tushan stood up. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly turned back to look at Fang Chun and asked, "We are allies." "That's right." Fang Chun nodded. "If someone dares to make a move against our Langya Holy Land, what would you say?" Tushan inquired. Fang Chun chuckled and said calmly, "It's a perfect chance for me to take the demon out for some action. The positions of Langya Holy Land and Tianqing Island are different. This ally is one he undoubtedly needs to acknowledge, because Langya Holy Land and Qingyun continent stand back to back. The Langya Holy Land is now facing danger. The Qingyun sect definitely needs to offer assistance. Otherwise, how can they attract other allies? It's good to hear you say that. Wait for our news." Tu Shan hurriedly left, quickly returning to Langya Holy Land, and reported Qing Yun's sect's information to Sheng Shi. Sheng Shi gave a slight nod, without saying a word. Now he's trying to see if he can uncover any clues. He decided to wait another 2 days. The people investigating Qishan Academy came back with their report. There was no trace of anything. At this moment, Shang Shi was completely at a loss. They had vanished into thin air without a reason. Not even a direction could be determined. Issue a notice to everyone. Starting from today, the entire continent must remain on high alert. Report immediately if you notice anything unusual. File a report without delay, as long as the reported information is useful. Zhongjiang Sheng Shi spoke with a serious tone. No matter how small or insignificant, as long as there is a report, someone must be dispatched to investigate right away. I want to see exactly what is going on. Stay alert for people from other continents. If you notice any suspicious behavior from them, even pause for a moment. Sheng Shi slowly spoke. Ask the senior experts to make preparations. Be ready to enter a state of alert at any time. A second-rate sect, so many at the nascent soul stage, disappeared without a trace. This inevitably made Sheng Shi highly vigilant, especially considering the current alliance with Qing Yun's sect. Under such circumstances, he had to be exceptionally cautious in everything he did, because other sects were always ready to take a bite out of the Langya Holy Land, due to the orders from the Holy Master. The atmosphere across the entire Langya continent became noticeably tense, and at this moment, Shuyi Pass found itself in a similarly dire situation, because within the territory of Shuyi Pass, a certain sect had suddenly vanished without a trace. And the sect that disappeared this time was not a second-rate one, but rather a first-rate sect. Even though there is only one River Realm cultivator in the sect, it is precisely because of this. The situation appears even more terrifying. This matter was definitely done by the Qingyan sect. Qing Song spoke with absolute certainty. Not long ago, the Temple Master had just fought a battle with Qinji Yunzi. So the Qingyan sect retaliated against us by sending a demonic cultivator, completely destroying the entire fish scale jar. Only a demonic cultivator would possess such power. Only in this way can be done so silently, leaving even cultivators at the River Realm powerless to resist, maintaining a consistent internal focus. Everyone else felt it made sense when explained calmly, because the entire Yulin Pass vanished, and did so without a trace. This kind of method is extraordinarily unusual across the entire world. Who doesn't know that the Qing Yun sect harbors demons? And it could only be those demons. Only then could such an unusual action occur. The master of the hall sat in the main seat. His expression shifted unpredictably. The power that made the fish scale crown vanish. Even he couldn't perceive it at all. Which means, if the Shuyi crown were ambushed, wouldn't the Shuyi crown also be in trouble? He pondered for a long while, before finally looking toward Yun Song. Calmly suggested to go and ask the Qing Yun sect what exactly they intend to do. If you're not convinced, we could also arrange a duel to settle this. Stop using these sneaky and underhanded tactics. He had already agreed with Qing Song's perspective, and also believed that only the Qing Yun sect could employ such methods, especially considering that demon he faced in the last battle. A thick mist descended upon the area. Even he struggled greatly to escape from it, let alone cultivators at the river path stage. So, there's a 90% chance that this was done by the Qingyan sect. Just thinking about the Qingyan sect actually resorting to such despicable tactics made him feel extremely troubled. Originally, the Qingyan sect had over a dozen demons. If they were to act in secret as well, it would be truly terrifying. From this moment onward, everyone must stay on high alert. The temple leader commanded. Meanwhile, Yun Song was hurrying toward the Qingyan sect. As soon as they met, Yun Song sternly and firmly expressed his stance, demanding to know if they intended to start a war. Fang Chen replied calmly, yes. The previously aggressive Yun Song suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He quickly asked if they truly wanted to go to war. Yes, Fang Chen nodded once more, fixing his gaze on Yun Song. Go back and get ready. I am heading to the craft pavilion with 15 formidable figures. A chill instantly swept through Yun Song's entire body. The Qing Yun sect seems determined to destroy the craft pavilion. He shouted furiously. Didn't you all say that all grudges would be settled once and for all? Why are you targeting the craft pavilion again? Fang Chun slammed the table with force, pointing at Yun Song with anger written all over his face. Last time you invited us for a meeting. The moment we met, you forced my master into a fight. Now you're acting all arrogant and overbearing. You came to my Qing Yun sect flaunting your power, making threats against my Qing Yun sect. I really want to know, what exactly is your intention at Shui Pass? We've said it before. Qing Yun sect is a group that cherishes peace, but we're not a group that fears trouble. Since you're so determined to provoke a war, then I'll give you a war. So now you can go back and prepare. Yun Song hurriedly adjusted his tone. With a forced smile, he said, calm down first. That's not what I meant. Then what do you mean? What does your temple master mean? Fang Chun coldly retorted. Yun Song's face was filled with a forced smile. Even his tone became much softer. Hurriedly explained that our sect leader is a sword cultivator. Sword cultivators enjoy sparring. The last time we met sect leader Kinji Yunzi was momentarily intrigued by the idea of a challenge and entertained the thought of sparring. It wasn't meant to imply anything else. In addition, recently, within the area we oversee, a top-tier sect suddenly vanished. The entire sect from top to bottom, along with the cultivators in the river boundary, 7 or 8 individuals of the divine realm, and 100 or 2 other disciples, vanished without a trace. As we thought it over repeatedly, we concluded that only the demons could possess such capabilities. That is why I was deeply worried about the fate of those fellow cultivators just now, and I found it hard to hold back my temper. I hope you won't take it to heart. Yun Song felt an icy chill deep in his heart. He almost caused a major disaster just now. Now he's constantly trying to smooth things over with kind words. Fang Chun heard that the sect known for its craftsmanship had also disappeared. He could no longer bother arguing with Yun Song about anything else. He hurriedly asked, vanished completely without a trace. Not a single sign was left behind, and all the cultivation resources of the sect, none of them were taken away. Exactly. Yun Song slapped his leg heavily in realization. He cast a suspicious glance at Fang Chun. Fang Chun furrowed his brows, spoke slowly about what happened a few days ago. The Qishan Academy of Langya Holy Land also vanished completely without a trace. The sect's resources were left behind as well. Not a single clue could be found. The situation at Yulin Pass can be said to be identical to that of Qishan Academy. I am wondering, could it be that someone is trying to provoke conflict among you? Or rather, are they attempting to instigate a conflict between you and our Qingyan sect? Yun Song was startled. He asked if there had been an incident involving a sect in the Langya Holy Land. Fang Chun gave a slight nod. Yun Song felt utterly confused. Why would such a situation arise? At that moment, news arrived from beyond the Qingyun continent. Luo Yi from Yunshao Palace has come to visit the Qingyun sect. There is an important matter to inquire about. Fang Chun responded. When Yunzong saw that Fang Chun had a guest arriving, coupled with the fact that the matter he wanted to ask about had already been resolved, he decided to return to Shuyi Pass to report the information first. Wait a moment, Fang Chun called out to stop him. Yunzong, Yunshao Palace, has not visited our Qingyun sect in a long time. There must be some underlying reason for this sudden situation. A few days ago, it was the Langya Sacred Land. Now it's your group maintaining the usual stance. I just want to see if the Yunshao Palace is acting the same as you. His expression turned serious as well. If Yunshao Palace is also causing trouble for the Qingyun sect, could it be that someone is once again stirring up the other sects across the land, preparing to encircle and hunt down the Qingyun sect? Thinking about the recent events involving the Mishan sect, Fang Chun remarked calmly, Uncle Lingyun, I ask that you travel to the Yunshan Empire, Uncle. I request you to head to the Yunting Empire. Master, please keep an eye on the northern region. Pay attention to the situation over at Liang Yi's side. The figure of Qin Jianzi appeared. With a serious expression, he nodded slightly. He had already understood what Fangchen meant. It seems someone has set their sights on Qing Yun's sect again. Roy from Yunshao Palace still hadn't arrived. Ling Yunzi and Hua Linzi from Qing Yun's sect had already left earlier. Seeing this scene, Yun Song became visibly more serious in expression. He was feeling somewhat anxious now. This is not good. A major battle is about to erupt. After waiting for quite some time, the people from Yunshao Palace arrived at Qingyun Town and were greeted by Fang Chen's men. After exchanging pleasantries with Luo Yi from the Qingyun sect, he asked with a serious expression whether any demon has recently left the Qingyun sect. Fang Chen questioned back, saying yes. The sect has vanished, without leaving any trace behind, and did not take any cultivation resources along. How do you know this? Luo Yi's expression turned peculiar. Could it really be the doing of the Qingyun sect? Fang Chen's gaze shifted towards Yun Song. Yun Song gave a wry smile and said to Roy, "We at Shui Temple, even some first-class sects have vanished. The situation is similar to your Cloud Palace. It is said that sects have also disappeared near the Langya Holy Land. The sects there vanished even earlier." What Roy exclaimed in shock. This kind of occurrence is not limited to just one or two places. Fang Chen slowly said, "We at the Qingyun sect, there isn't a single person, any demon who steps into the Shui Temple, Langya continent, Yunshao continent. So there must be another reason behind this. Since you all are in the same situation, you can go to the Langya sacred land together to discuss a solution. As for us, we still need to wait to see if other sects have encountered similar situations." Yun Song and Roy didn't say much either. They turned and headed straight to the Langya sacred land. Meanwhile, Fang Chen spoke with a serious expression. "Master, we must stay cautious too." Qing Yunzi gave a slight nod. His focus was already fixed on the celestial azure ultimate cloud formation. He began inspecting the entirety of the Qing Yun continent. At this moment, any force that approached or came near was noticed. He could sense it all, guided by the power of the omniscient force. He could reach there at any moment. He was determined to find out what exactly was causing this strange phenomenon. In the depths of Yunming's, hundreds of people stood solemnly around the figure in the black robe. The Wolf Fang continent, the hand that once ruled the Yunshao continent. The three missing sects were all gathered here. The figure in the black robe was completely shrouded by the cloak. It was impossible to discern his face. However, judging by his movements, he seemed to have glanced at everyone. A calm voice echoed from within the black robe. "I will now grant you the principles of the Great Path. To enhance your strength, I will also bestow upon you a new identity. And furthermore, I shall grant you the trait of immortality. I'm giving you so much. I just need you to do a small favor for me." "Who exactly are you? What is it that you need us to do?" He Daojing asked nervously, still shaken. Even he was brought here silently without any sign. The man in the black robe, standing before them, is clearly an incredibly terrifying figure. Is someone whose identity remains unknown. The man in the black robe spoke calmly. "There are far too many people in this world who deserve to die. What you need to do is to go and eliminate every one of those damned people for me. Now I bestow upon you power." A yellow mist suddenly spread over the figures in black robes. Immediately, faint glimmers of light began to radiate from the black cloaks, enveloping countless individuals around them. Then everyone realized that their bodies were dissolving. A group of people screamed in terror and begged desperately for mercy. Yet the figure in the black robe remained unmoved. Over time, countless people gradually realized that although their physical bodies had dissolved, they had not perished. Instead, they transformed into a state where only their soul remained. Then the eerie glow from the black cloak continued to shine upon the countless individuals who had been reduced to mere soul forms. Little by little, these countless souls began to notice that their soul forms had also been draped in a layer of black robes. They all transformed into figures in black robes. The black-robed figure who arrived with the ring spoke in a low tone. "Go anywhere you desire. Eliminate anyone who deserves to die. Since they do not wish to meet their end, then we have no choice but to personally lend them a hand. Every continent, every region, You are free to roam as you please. No one has the power to end your lives. However, if you dare to disobey my orders, I assure you, the suffering you'll face will be far worse than death. You may now begin your mission." Hundreds of individuals cloaked in black robes bowed deeply. Then they all gracefully drifted away. As the group departed, it became apparent that each of them was radiating an immense and terrifying power. This signified that even the weakest among them could be considered to have reached the level of the primordial spirit realm. The stronger ones have even stepped into the river boundary realm. But guarding the Yunshao Palace of the sacred land of Langya has always been consistent. The three vanished sects. At present, there is only one at the river boundary realm. Altogether, there are several dozen at the primordial spirit realm. At most, even with the addition of those at the golden core realm, it would be no more than 100 or 200. Now, a terrifying aura of death is emanating from all of these individuals. The power of the great Tao. After these hundreds of individuals left the center of Yunming's, they all came to a halt one after another. Even though they had shifted their forms, their consciousness remained intact. "How should we proceed?" one of them inquired. "Didn't that person already tell us to go and kill those despicable people?" "I will go and eliminate the demon clan." A figure drifted away effortlessly, heading in the direction of the 100,000 mountains. All those demons deserve death. Over 20 people followed, intent on killing the demon clan. They headed in the direction of the 10,000 mountains. Over the years, I've had enough of the humiliation from Yunshao Palace. Now that I have the chance for revenge, I will settle the score with Yunshao Palace. A group of people charged towards Yunshao Palace. "We have a deep grudge against Qingyun sect. This time, we must bring down Qingyun sect." Over 100 people from Walla headed to the Qingyun continent. Afterward, several hundred people gradually split up. They traveled to various parts of the world. All they needed to do was take lives. Killing could be done anywhere in the world. Naturally, they roamed freely across the land. Hundreds of people dispersed and left Yunming's. The black-robed figure at the center sat at the spring's source in the Yellow Springs, allowing the spring water to soak his entire body. He suffered loss of life in order to bestow power upon those people. The power of the great Tao became replenished once more. Langya Holy Land. Roy and Yunsong joined forces to pay a visit. After the sage extended his greetings, Roy and Yunsong both brought up the disappearance of a sect from their respective continents. The sage's expression instantly grew serious. The forces of all three parties had unexpectedly lost a sect without a single trace. In that moment, the sage's gaze shifted to Yunming's, because the three sects were centered around Yunming's. Cloud Dream Marsh is also known as a forbidden land. Now all three factions are facing issues. Is it because of Cloud Dream Marsh? Roy and Yunsong noticed the gaze of the sage. They understood what the sage intended. The sage's meaning is that something is wrong with Cloud Dream Marsh. Roy quickly asked. The sage shook his head slightly. It's still uncertain whether the issue lies with Cloud Dream Marsh. After all, we still don't know. Have sects vanished on other continents? If no sects have disappeared on other continents, and only the sects from our three families have vanished, then we still need to observe further before drawing any conclusions. Since Yunming's and the 10,000 mountains are both referred to as forbidden zones, and are linked to such places, who would dare to act carelessly? Tushan, go and visit the other sects. Check if there are any issues in other directions as well. The Holy Master instructed. It was Tushan who nodded. He turned around and left. He flew in the direction of the snowy mountains. He planned to start investigating from the snow region. After Tushan had departed, Yinsong and Luai both said, Senior, we will also head separately to Guiyuan Temple and toward the direction of Haitian Pavilion to inquire, to see if anything unusual has occurred on their end. Shengshi nodded in agreement, gestured for the two to leave. After Luo, Yi, and Yunsong had departed, Shengshi furrowed his brows deeply, lost in thought. If it truly is a problem with Yunming's, how should it be handled? All of a sudden, Shengshi's gaze turned sharp, fixing on a direction within the Langya continent. He raised his hand, and the character for seal appeared, then vanished into thin air within the Wolf Fong sanctuary. In an instant, arrived at a sect located toward the southern region of the Wolf Fong continent. Then the character for suppress enveloped the entire sect and pressed it down with immense force. In a flash, all the buildings within the sect, including the mountain itself, were crushed into dust by that single character. The entire sect was left littered with corpses, along with several individuals clad in black robes, were all crushed into fine powder. The Holy Master personally took action to suppress, far more powerful than Kong Xiaoping could ever be. Yet the Holy Master, sitting in the Langia's sanctuary, looked utterly astonished. Not dead, just moments ago, when he scanned the entire Langia continent with his divine sense, he noticed several black-robed figures annihilating a sect, and then he intervened. However, he clearly crushed those black-robed figures into fine powder. Several figures in black robes suddenly vanished, disappearing entirely from within his perception range. The Holy Master's figure shifted abruptly, and within the span of 2 breaths, he arrived at the site of the annihilated sect. His brows furrowed even deeper. He was certain that those figures in black robes were merely at the nascent soul level, yet they had not been killed. It was inconceivable to him that there were people he could not eliminate. At this moment, the Holy Master realized he was facing an enormous crisis. At this moment, deep within Cloud Dream Swamp, beside the spring of the Yellow Springs, a few wisps of ghostly spirits emerged from the Yellow Springs. These ghostly spirits were precisely the ones that had been shattered into pieces by the Saint Master moments ago. The ghostly spirits, soaked in the Yellow Springs, gradually coalesced into the form of a black-robed figure, and appeared once again when several black-robed figures had fully formed. One of the men in black robes spoke with lingering fear. "I thought I was going to be shaken to death. I never expected to still be alive." The other 2 men in black robes were utterly amazed. "It truly seems to be an immortal body. Now we have nothing to fear. Since all of you have recovered, why not continue carrying out the mission?" The original man in black robes spoke in a faint, eerie tone. "Yes, my lord." Several recently recovered figures in black robes once again soared away. This time, they had no need to conceal themselves at all. They boldly flew straight toward the Langia Holy Land. After all, they couldn't be killed. What was there to fear? With a casual motion, the observer suddenly unleashed a slash of sword energy. Dozens of figures in black robes were cut cleanly in half. They vanished instantly. The princess of Yinshao Palace suddenly struck out with a palm. Dozens of figures in black robes were shattered into pieces, and then vanished. The black-robed figures that disappeared transformed into wandering spirits, returned to the depths of Yunming's and into the River of Souls, gathered their forms once again, and emerged to continue their attack. The Qingyun continent. Qin Jianzi, who was patrolling the entirety of Qingyun continent, suddenly sensed the presence of 70 to 80 spirit realm cultivators. Breaking into the Qingyun continent, his figure abruptly passed through the guidance of myriad phenomena, appeared in front of a group of individuals dressed in black robes. They made a sweeping gesture. Dozens of black-robed figures at the nascent soul level turned to dust. Huh. Qin Jianzi let out a surprised sound. Even though these black-robed individuals had turned to dust, why did they suddenly vanish into thin air? As someone at the Tribulation Crossing stage, he was fully aware whether he had completely obliterated his enemies. He was absolutely certain of this. Yet someone still managed to escape from his grasp. He unleashed his domain of the Tao and suppressed all the remaining black-robed figures, completely trapping them within the domain of the Tao, even capable of holding down a demon. The remaining black-robed figures were rendered immobile. Then, with a slight motion from Qin Yunzi's Tao domain, another black-robed figure was killed instantly. But just as they were slain, they vanished immediately. This odd occurrence made Qin Yunzi furrow his brow. Since they're killed, they vanish. He does not kill. Doesn't that mean those men in black robes can't escape? Qin Yunzi suppressed dozens of men in black robes with his domain power. He returned to the sect. He went to study those dozens of men in black robes. This kind of thing that can't be killed. It piqued his interest. He decided to thoroughly investigate it. He brought the dozens of men in black robes into the formation space. Then he unleashed dozens of men in black robes. "Who exactly are you people?" Qing Yunzi inquired. Dozens of black-robed figures exchanged uncertain glances. Suddenly, one of the black-robed figures shouted sharply, "Your Qingyun sect has allied with the demon. The Qingyun sect deserves to be wiped out, every last one of you." Another black-robed figure cursed. Qing Yunzi let out a cold snort. The suppressive power of the great Tao enveloped the two black-robed figures. He directly utilized the power of the Great Path to refine the two men in black robes. Because he couldn't kill them with ordinary methods before, he decided to try refining them with the power of the Great Path. Under his demonic suppression Great Path, the aura of the two men in black robes kept weakening. However, when he finally managed to kill the two men in black robes, the last trace of the black-robed men's life imprint vanished in an instant. This caused Qing Yunzi's expression to turn grim. It turns out it really can't be killed. What exactly is this thing? Take off your black robes. Let me see who you all are. Qing Yunzi instructed. All the people in black robes remained silent. They had absolutely no idea how this black robe appeared on them, how to remove it. At this moment, they still didn't know yet. They truly seemed to be immortal. So they're not acting overly arrogant yet. They only notice their companions decreasing in number. But they can't confirm if they are truly immortal. Nebula Z noticed that these people in black robes refused to remove them. He decided to take action himself to pull off their black robes. However, though the black robes clearly exist, they cannot be touched at all. In the following days, Nebula Z kept trying various methods endlessly. Eliminate these individuals in black robes. The various laws of nature and the universe, as long as they are applied to these individuals in black robes, can indeed erase the existence of the black-robed individuals, but only by truly killing them will they completely vanish, because they are, in essence, already death itself. Qing Yunzi directly resorted to simulating a demon, utilizing various methods of the simulated demon to massacre those individuals in black robes. No method proved effective. In the end, when he used the simulated demon to cast the Devil's Whisper, there was finally some impact. Not that it could kill those men in black robes, but erased all the memories of those men in black robes, completely wiped them out. Then he proceeded to eliminate the men in black robes. The black-robed figures still inexplicably vanished in the end. Deep within Yunming's, spectral figures emerged one after another from the river of the underworld. They were reborn one by one in the waters of the spring, having just been resurrected. The figures cloaked in black burst into wild laughter. "Qing Yunzi, you cannot kill me. Here I am again." Those black-robed figures who had just been slain by Qing Yunzi once more soared toward the Qingyun continent, heading off to seek revenge against Qing Yunzi. After all, they are immortal. What is there to fear about the black-robed figure that first appeared in the spring water? It was constantly resurrecting this group of people, sending them out to kill others everywhere. However, what puzzled the black-robed figure in the spring water was, clearly, several spirits had already been reborn. So why were they pretending to be dead while soaking in the spring water? Why are you all not moving? The resurrected black-robed figures simply refused to respond to the words of the original self. "How dare you defy my orders?" The reborn man in the black robe was completely fearless. He remained silent and expressionless. The original man in the black robe let out a cold snort. Suddenly, he cried out in surprise. "Your memories are gone." He remarked that these black-robed individuals had clearly been reborn. Why are they not moving? It turned out that all their memories had been completely erased. For a moment, the black-robed individuals were left speechless. What use is such a blank slate revival? The figure in the black robe made a slight movement. A few black-robed individuals who had just been reborn, soaked in the waters of the yellow springs, dissolved and vanished completely. This time, they were utterly gone. It seems there are still a few notable figures in the world of cultivation. The black-robed figure gave a faint smile. But in front of me, Ming Kong. No figure holds any significance. With just a casual lift of his hand, revived a few individuals who had just turned into wandering spirits. Let them charge out again to continue their killing spree. At this moment, the holy master of the Langius sacred land, the artisan crown lord, and the palace master of Yinshao Palace all wore solemn expressions as they looked toward Yunming's. They could almost be certain that something must have gone wrong in Yunming's, because there were relentless black-robed figures that couldn't be killed, rushing out arrogantly from Yunming's. One by one, they charged forward claiming to be immortal, only to be repeatedly killed by them one after another. Before long, the same scene unfolded again, causing the three powerful figures to feel somewhat shaken. They couldn't figure out why these things just couldn't be permanently killed. Meanwhile, Qin Jianzi once again arrived at the edge of Qingyun continent, facing 20 to 30 figures dressed in black robes. At this moment, a group of 20 to 30 individuals in black robes laughed wildly. Qin Yunzi, with your abilities, you still can't kill us. You might be able to kill us again, but we will always return. As long as you can't keep an eye on us, we will slaughter everyone on the Qingyun continent. Qingyun Zi gave a cold, chilling smile. If killing won't work, then why not just let it be? He used a scroll of Dao Jade. Dozens of figures in black robes were wrapped up using the Dao Jade scroll. They were brought back to the Qingyun sect. They were sealed within the Grand Formation, something that cannot be killed. Why would there be a need to kill it? In truth, he still didn't understand. Once the memories of those in black robes were erased, they would be completely killed by Ming Kong, because earlier he had used the whisper of the demon god. Eliminating those cloaked figures would still cause them to vanish. It made him feel that the whispers of the demon god might be useless. After subduing dozens of cloaked figures within the erase space, the dozens of cloaked figures suddenly launched an attack. They ended up killing one another. Some even chose to self-destruct decisively, because none of them could truly die. What is there to fear? Sure enough, this group of people would only disappear upon dying, returning to Yunming's to be reborn. This scene even made Qin Jianzi feel a headache. It cannot be ignored. Intervening proves to be futile. Killing them is impossible. Confining them doesn't work. When this group of black-robed figures attacked Qingyun continent for the third time, Qin Jianzi used immense willpower to restrain these individuals. The black-robed figures prevented this group of black-robed figures from even self-destructing. Then, he brought countless people in black robes to confront Fang Chun. He addressed Fang Chun, calling him a brat. Take a look and see if there's any way to eliminate this group of black-robed figures, because Fang Chun practiced the ghost path, along with the demonic path and the monster path. These paths are entirely different from the celestial path. Maybe there's a way to destroy these black-robed figures. Fang Chun carefully examined the group of black-robed figures. In astonishment, he inquired of the master, where did this group of people come from? Their bodies emanate an immensely powerful force of the Death Tao, carrying with them the incomparable power of the path of death. Qin Jianzi gazed thoughtfully at the dozens of figures in black robes. So, you're saying they are from the ghost realm? He cast a glance at Fang Chun and said irritably, I told you. Where did these bizarre beings come from? Look at the mess you've caused. He was almost certain this was the creature from the ghost realm released after Fang Chun and his group used the ghost sigil to open the ghost gate. A being from the ghost realm was unleashed. I'll handle this. There's no need to worry, master. Fang Chun chuckled lightly. He approached a figure cloaked in black robes. Well, so this is a ghost. Kid, even your master can't kill us. Who do you think you are? The figure in the black robe sneered as he spoke. Even though they were restrained and unable to protect themselves, they still showed no signs of fear. Fang Chun sized up the figure in the black robe. It's not that my master can't kill you. It's just that you got lucky. He reached out his hand toward the black robe of the figure. The black robe, which was previously untouchable, became tangible when Fang Chun's hand made contact, and the black robe, transformed into a force of death, fell into the hands of the nascent soul of the purple mansion. Once the black robe vanished, a faint and indistinct shadow emerged. After the master resolved, the connection to his path of death was severed. Now is the perfect moment to eliminate it. Fang Chun pointed at the shadow and looked at his master, asking, "Do you want to handle it, or should I?" "You little rascal, that's pure divine soul essence. And it even contains the power of the great Tao." Qin Jianzi cast an eerie glance at Fang Chun. Fang Chun paused in surprise. He immediately realized what was happening. He fixed his gaze on those individuals in black robes. He started drooling uncontrollably. "Ha, master, where is the alchemy cauldron?" Fang Chun stripped all the black robes off those cloaked figures. He severed the connection between this group of black-robed figures and the path of death. He lifted the undead state of these spirits, and then they threw this group of people in black robes, all into the immortal refining cauldron, leaving only the power of the great path and the ghostly remnants of their souls. This was crucial for enhancing the immortal refining cauldron. There's a high possibility that an immortal artifact is about to emerge. 23 black-robed figures left with only their soul forms. Each seemed somewhat uneasy, but they weren't as frightened as expected, because they had already tested it just moments ago. Where there is death, there will always be rebirth. Although Fang Chun seems a bit strange at the moment, he even stripped off their black robes. But just a short while ago, didn't Qin Yunzi try every possible method and still fail to kill them? After that, when these dozens of soul bodies were thrown into the immortal refining cauldron, they didn't even make a single sound. They still firmly believe in their immortality. And then they perished, deep within the Yunmeng's wetlands. Ming Kong suddenly let out a startled exclamation. Why did he feel like a part of his path of death was missing a fragment? But at this moment, people were continually being reborn within the spring water. He had absolutely no idea whether the number of his subordinates had decreased. However, the black robes worn by this group of subordinates were manifestations of his path of death. The absence in his path was still something he could perceive. However, what was missing was just a small portion. He paid no attention to it. Meanwhile, Qin Yunzi used the alchemy cauldron to refine 20 to 30 soul entities. The alchemy cauldron absorbed the power of numerous great paths and also fused countless divine souls. This made the cauldron's spirit significantly stronger. The alchemy cauldron was just a bit shy of completion, about to step into the realm of celestial energy. Just a little more to go. Qin Jianzi examined the celestial refining cauldron. His path to enlightenment was nearing perfection. Once it reaches perfection, he will truly be able to ascend to celestial energy. By then, our Qingyun sect will possess its 8th celestial artifact. Fang Chun urgently inquired, "Master, what else is missing? Let's quickly gather what's needed. Upgrade the alchemy cauldron to the level of immortal energy. I'll go take a look. See if there are any valuable materials left in the treasure vault. Let the alchemy cauldron refine them." Qin Jianzi, who was of no help, hurriedly stopped Fang Chun. At this point, it's no longer a matter of lacking materials. What he is missing is the Tao. It's the opportunity to complete the final piece of the Tao. In an instant, it would transform into immortal energy. But you brat, immortal energy, similar to the tribulation realm, also requires undergoing tribulations. It, too, must face tribulations. This does pose a bit of a challenge. Let's set aside the matter of tribulations for now. First, let's work on using the refining immortal cauldron to generate immortal energy. Fang Chun was deep in thought, wondering where the opportunities with the alchemy cauldron of immortality might lie. All right, master. The water we brought back last time from the Temple of Creation, and those stones. Have you finished your research? Why not just let the alchemy cauldron refine it? Last time they acquired some items from the Palace of Creation. They obtained some water and miniature rock formations, even though the water and miniature rocks are ordinary items. However, it seems to have absorbed the aura of some powerful figures and has become extraordinarily unusual. Now, these things might be exactly what the refining immortal cauldron needs as its opportunity. Perhaps this is the chance required by the refining immortal cauldron. Their level is far beyond mine. I could sense nothing but an ethereal presence from their aura. Qin Yunzi shook his head. Given my current level of cultivation, I still can't achieve any results for now. These things might also be part of the destiny linked to the refining immortal cauldron. Let's leave it to the refining immortal cauldron to process them. He took out that water and the miniature rock formations, placed them into the refining immortal cauldron, and activated the cauldron to begin the refining process. Countless mysterious auras merged into the refining immortal cauldron. The refining immortal cauldron, under the stimulation of those mysterious auras, began moving toward perfection. The imposing presence of the refining immortal cauldron rose steadily step by step. In the end, it still failed to break the boundary between immortal energy and spiritual energy. The fateful opportunity has arrived, but it remains just slightly out of reach. The great path, in its essence. Qin Yunzi let out a sigh. The emergence of an immortal artifact is never that simple. This is even harder than a cultivator reaching the tribulation stage. He had originally thought the Qingyun sect was about to produce its 8th immortal artifact, but unexpectedly, it still fell just a bit short in the end. Of course, if the refining immortal cauldron truly became an immortal artifact, it would undoubtedly be extraordinary. Its quality is already at the peak of spiritual energy. It has refined a great path within itself. Some powerful auras were also refined. Such celestial energy. There is no doubt that it must be incredibly powerful and extraordinary. Master, where did those people in black robes come from? Jiang Qin hurriedly asked. Go get some more. After the celestial refining cauldron processes it, it might just work. We have to wait. Qin Yunzi replied. He couldn't figure out where those black-robed people came from either. As for the idea of opening the Ghost Gate, last time, after being intimidated by that terrifying aura from the Ghost Realm, they realized they could no longer open it. After all, you can't keep rejecting goodwill endlessly. What they didn't know was, at this very moment across the world, other major sects were on the brink of madness. Strangely, some individuals dressed in black robes had appeared. They came charging ferociously into battle, showing no fear of death at all. Even though they were clearly killed, they ended up disappearing again. Not long after, this group of black-robed people showed up once more. It must be the Qingyun sect, definitely the Qingyun sect. Zhou Xiansheng was seething with anger. These things must have been conjured by the dark arts of the Qingyun sect. As a powerful practitioner in the late stage of the tribulation transcendence, he was able to sense it. These black-robed individuals carry the aura of the path of death. Yet even he cannot break through the path of death. Go and eliminate those black-robed individuals. Because these black-robed people themselves originate from the path of death. If killing someone is a function of the path of death, then tell me, how can one kill someone protected by the path of death? After such a situation occurred, Zhou Xianxing couldn't help but suspect the Qingyun sect. In the entire world of cultivators, the most suspicious one is the demonic faction of the Qingyun sect. If something feels off, then it must have been done by the Qingyun sect. After once again crushing dozens of people in black robes, Zhou Xian angrily shouted Jiang Tao, "Go and ask them what the Qingyun sect is trying to do." Jiang Tao hurriedly headed to the Qingyun sect. Upon arriving at the Qingyun sect, he immediately started questioning Fong Chun. What is the meaning of sending people in black robes to cause trouble? What exactly are you trying to imply? Just when I was wondering where to find some of the black-robed figures, a thought suddenly sparked in my mind. He said solemnly, "Senior, you must not wrongly accuse anyone. Not long ago, our Qingyun continent was also attacked by a group of black-robed individuals. These black-robed figures cannot be killed with ordinary methods, so we could only imprison them within the sky-blue extreme cloud formation, our azure cloud formation array. Even demons can be subdued by it. A few individuals in black robes, although rather peculiar, ultimately cannot escape the suppression of the 7 immortal swords aura. As for what you have encountered, we feel a sense of regret. However, as for this group of black-robed individuals, our Qingyun sect is a peace-loving sect. It is also a sect that takes responsibility. We cannot bear to see our fellow practitioners suffer such losses. If you're willing to spend some money, our Qingyun sect can use a grand formation to help you suppress it. As for better alternatives, we don't have any either. Jiang Tao's brows furrowed. Even the Qingyun sect has been attacked. Fang Chun shook his head and said seriously, Senior, although we had misunderstandings before, when it comes to significant matters in the cultivation world, we are absolutely unwavering. Moreover, I urge your Wanling sect to exercise utmost caution. Not too long ago, a message came from Yunshao Palace of the Holy Land in Langia. One of their sects vanished without a trace. Chaos is erupting across the world. Things might get troublesome from here on out. If you don't believe it, you could go to the Holy Land in Langia and ask Shi Yiguan yourself. All right, I'll go and ask. Jiang Tao turned around to leave. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. He asked, if the man in the black robe is handed over to you for detention, how much would we need to pay you? Since we're all in the same field, we'll charge just 1,000,000 spirit stones per person. The payment has to be made in full up front. You won't need to worry about any troubles afterward. Fang Qin spoke with an unchanged expression. Jiang Tao gave a slight nod. For the first time, he felt that Fang Qin was this genuine. But it might be better to check out the Langia sacred land first. If that doesn't work, he could send these black-robed men to the Qingyun sect and have them imprisoned there. Jiang Tao hurriedly made his way to the Langia sacred land. Upon meeting the Holy Master, after a quick inquiry, he finally realized that Fang Qin was telling the truth. Meanwhile, the Sage Master also became aware of the situation. Both the Myriad Spirits sect and the Azure Cloud sect had encounters involving figures in black robes. He immediately furrowed his brows. Initially, he assumed the black-robed individuals originated from Yunmeng's. But now, even a Myriad Spirits sect has them. Could it be that the black-robed figures have a deeper origin? However, he could confirm with certainty that at least the black-robed individuals on the Langia Holy Land side came from Yunmeng's. Did you take down the men in black robes? Sheng Shi inquired. He speculated that Zhou Quansheng, in a late stage of his tribulation, might have a strength to eliminate those men in black robes. Jiang Tao did not respond directly. Instead, he said that when he arrived, he had asked the Qingyun sect about it. They hadn't succeeded either. Even the demon himself had made a move. Yet they still couldn't defeat the men in black robes. However, the Qingyun sect possesses the powerful Tianqing Jiyun array. This grand formation is powerful enough to subdue even so many demons. They simply decided not to kill that group of black-robed individuals. Instead, they imprisoned the black-robed people within the grand formation. The implication is clear. They are also unable to kill them, but stating it outright would somewhat diminish the authority of their sect leader. Directly imprisoning them is indeed another solution. The sage slightly nodded in agreement. Let's wait for now as his figure vanished once again, appearing at the edge of the Langia continent. At this moment, a group of people in black robes were rushing toward Langia continent, coming over in a surge. The river mirror of Langia's sacred land was already waiting at this spot, getting ready to strike and eliminate these black-robed individuals. The only thing they were relieved about was that these black-robed individuals were not particularly powerful. Most of them were at the primordial spirit realm. As long as the river boundary acted, they would still be able to hold them back. After all, there are so many elders at the river boundary realm in the Langia Holy Land. They can simply take turns guarding it. Just as the river boundary realm was about to take action, the Holy Master appeared and suppressed all the black-robed figures, completely confining them within his domain of Tao. Under the overwhelming willpower of the Tribulation Crossing realm, the group of black-robed figures couldn't even manage to take their own lives. Jia Sheng went to the Qingyun sect to negotiate with them, asking them to imprison the black-robed individuals. The prosperous era gave an order. Jia Sheng accepted the command and departed. Meanwhile, Jiang Tao also took his leave. He had witnessed everything clearly. Even the sacred land of Langia had to seek out the Qingyun sect to detain them. What pride does the Wanling sect have left? Isn't it just a man in a black robe? A detention fee of 1 million spiritual stones, right? It's not like they can't afford it. Jiasheng arrived at the Qingyun sect. Upon meeting Fang Chun, expressed the idea of detaining the man in the black robe. Fang Chun sincerely said to Jiasheng, Sr., if it were other sects asking us to detain the man in the black robe, our fee would typically be 1 million spirit stones per person. But since we are allies, how could we possibly charge you for it? Rest assured, just return and bring the man in the black robe over. We will help you detain him without any issue. Jiasheng saw that Fang Chun refused to accept payment. He couldn't help but start laughing. Fang Chun spoke up. After dealing with you for so long, this is the first time I feel like you're actually human. Honestly, every time we met before, I ended up getting tricked. But now it's unexpectedly free. This made him incredibly happy. Fang Chun seemed a bit displeased. Senior, you misunderstood, that's not it. Actually, I really am a good person. Jiasheng let out a cold snort in his heart. Does that kid look like a decent person to you? Still, he hadn't ruined the rare good relationship yet. Hurriedly, he rushed back to the sacred land of Langia. He reported the matter to Sheng Shi. Without taking any money, Sheng Shi gave Jiasheng a strange look. Jiasheng nodded. Nodding, he thought it was rare for that kid to act like a good person for once. Sheng Shi shook his head repeatedly. No way, there must be something fishy about why that kid did this. I know him all too well. He looked at the 40 or 50 figures in black robes within the Dao Jade. He exhausted every thought and still couldn't figure out what exactly was beneficial about those people in black robes. Keeping them around only spells trouble. These things that can't even be killed. What purpose could they possibly serve? He pondered for a long while, before finally speaking to Jiasheng. Leave 2 men in black robes behind for further study. Send the rest of them to the Qingyun sect. He kept feeling that there had to be something wrong with this. This was an instinct he had honed through countless sparring sessions with Fang Chun. Afterward, Jiasheng took on the role of transportation team leader, constantly delivering the men in black robes to the Qingyun sect. He was Daojing, unlike the Holy Master, who could suppress dozens of men in black robes at once. He had to make multiple trips instead. On the other side, Jiang Tao had already returned to the Wanling sect and reported all the details to Zhou Xiansheng and had the man in the black robe detained. Zhou Xiansheng furrowed his brows. Something about it felt a bit off. However, being held within the Azure Sky Extreme Cloud Formation, no one really questioned it. That formation was indeed incredibly powerful and undeniably extraordinary as well. Maybe they really can imprison this group of people in black robes. Suddenly, Zhou Xiansheng felt a stirring in his heart. If the Qingji Cloud Formation is holding many of the black-robed people, these individuals in black robes, wouldn't it increase the burden on the Tianqingyi Cloud Formation? Wouldn't this weaken the strength of the Qingyun sect? If there are enough black-robed people, and combined with the threat of the demon, the internal pressure on the Qingyun sect would grow heavier. By the time the right moment comes, wouldn't that mean the Qingyun sect would be destroyed? Jiang Tao, hurry up and capture the man in the black robe. Deliver him to the Qingyun sect. Zhou Xianxing instructed. Zhou Junshin, go to other continents and inquire if there are any men in black robes. Send all of them to the Qingyun sect. The more, the better. Don't hold back at all. Make sure to gather all of them. The entire celestial azure cloud array was completely filled. Zhou Junshin and Jiang Tao both had a spark of excitement in their eyes. They quickly understood what Zhou Xianxing meant. Thus, the two of them started working separately and busily. Meanwhile, at the Qingyun sect, due to Zhou Xuanqing's schemes, Qin Jianzi began continuously accepting the black-robed individuals. At the very beginning, Qin Jianzi felt a burst of delight in his heart. This was clearly a benefit being delivered to him. 10 or 20 of them, 30 of them seem quite ethereal. 50 or 100 of them. After fully refining this immortal refining cauldron, it might even upgrade within the immortal aura. And each black-robed individual gained 1 million spirit stones. These billions upon billions of spirit stones collected. Even Qin Jianzi started to feel a bit uneasy about taking so much. Isn't this a bit too excessive? Within the formation space, Fong Chen's face was so filled with smiles that it had grown somewhat stiff. He kept removing the black robes from those cloaked figures, stripping them away to sever their connection with the path of death. Then he threw all the cloaked figures into the immortal refining cauldron. Although he had tossed them into the cauldron, he had not yet begun the process of refining, because various factions were still sending over more cloaked figures. If the immortal refining cauldron suddenly evolved to emit immortal aura, the commotion it caused would be enormous. Except for the sects from the Langya Holy Land, the mood was incredibly cheerful, especially for the Wanling sect. Zhou Xianshang felt he had outsmarted the Qingyun sect once again. When the time is right, the Qingyun sect is bound to be destroyed. Deep within Yunmeng Swamp, Mingkong was filled with panic. He sensed that the number of his subordinates being resurrected was dwindling more and more. Could it be that someone in the cultivation world has unraveled his secret technique? But who could possibly understand the Ghost Realm secret arts? This is simply impossible. The Ghost Realm has remained unseen for thousands of years. Who could possibly understand the secret techniques of the Ghost Realm? 763 figures in black robes. Over 700 million spirit stones. Qin Jianzi's face was filled with uncontrollable excitement, fixing his gaze on the immortal refining cauldron. So many individuals dressed in black robes. If all of them were refined by the immortal refining cauldron, it would undoubtedly lead to reaching the immortal realm. While feeling a surge of excitement in his heart, he gazed at Fong Chun. His heart was filled with endless emotions. How poor the Qingyun sect used to be. But ever since Fong Chun took over, their casual earnings now exceed 700 million. What's even more remarkable, accepting the man in the black robe was already a tremendous benefit. And they even managed to gain over 700 million spirit stones along the way. If it had been up to them to handle this matter, I'm afraid spending billions of spirit stones wouldn't be enough to buy these black-robed individuals. But now that Fong Chun is handling things, other sects are happily sending over the black-robed people, and they're even joyfully bringing money along. Are you ready to begin the refinement process? Qing Yunzi inquired. Although he was the master and held the position of sect leader in the Tribulation Realm, he still followed his disciples' lead for everything now. It was truly the apprentice who had taken care of everything. All he needed to do was put in the effort. They still had to wait for a while. Fong Chun shook his head slightly. The other sects had just sent the black-robed individual to our sect. Almost immediately, an immortal artifact appeared. The other sects would surely grow suspicious. Obtaining other black-robed individuals would become even harder. As long as there were still black-robed individuals, they could all be handed over to the immortal refining cauldron for further refinement. The more, the better. All the sects in the world send money to support the fire. This kind of benefit must never be cut off. Qin Jianzi nodded slightly. All right then. First, eliminate all the soul bodies within the immortal refining cauldron. When the time is right, refine them completely. Because of the efforts made by the Qingyun sect, the turmoil caused by the man in the black robe only caused a minor disturbance. It vanished completely. This made Mingkong, at the heart of Yunmeng's, deeply uneasy. He was just about to embark on his grand endeavor. How did it suddenly disappear? Could it be that someone has acquired the secret techniques of the Ghost Realm? Mingkong was filled with worry. But the Ghost Realm hasn't been accessible for thousands of years. How could anyone have obtained the secrets of the Ghost Realm? If the secret techniques of the Ghost Realm aren't involved, then who severed my connection to the path of death? The losses he suffered on the Death Avenue can still be recovered from the Netherworld. But this unknown situation made him deeply worried. It seems necessary to find some truly loyal subordinates. Mingkong remarked in a faint and distant tone. Originally, I didn't intend to personally intervene, but now it seems I'll have to put in some effort, after all. Let me first take a look at where the most deserving people to be punished in this world are. The black robe draped over him billowed in the air. In an instant, streaks of grayish-white lines spread outward in all directions, as if they extended endlessly into the distance. Mingkong took a deep breath. So many of these damned people still exist. It seems there will be plenty to handle next. But this place, why are there so few of the damned here? Kong Ming's gaze turned toward the direction of overseas Sky Star Island. The pale gray lines in this direction appear relatively sparse, since the number of doomed individuals here is relatively low. Let's head to this place first to see what's going on. Out of nowhere, a silhouette moved. A figure in a black robe flew toward the direction of Sky Star Island. Sky Star Island is an island spanning about 700 to 800 miles. Its area isn't actually small, but amidst this boundless, endless ocean, it seems rather insignificant. Of course, in the vicinity of Sky Star Island, there are also some floating islands. Their areas are not very large. On these islands, there lies the Heavenly Star Island, one of the top 10 super sects in the world. It has completely come to represent this island. Aside from cultivators, Heavenly Star Island is also home to ordinary people. The population is not large, roughly a few million people, living under the protection of Heavenly Star Island. Even in the depths of the ocean, they remain completely safe. At the very center of Tianqing Island stands one of the top 10 supreme sects. The location of Tianqing Island is adorned with towering palaces made of white marble, which are scattered across a massive mountain in the central area. This is where Tianqing Island truly resides. It is regarded as the most sacred place in the hearts of all living beings on the island. The holiest site across the entire island, a place where immortals reside. Within the dwelling of the immortals, countless powerful beings are quietly cultivating. Of course, this also includes many who have exhausted their lifespan, but were sealed away on Heavenly Star Island for this very reason. On this day, all the sealed powerful beings were involuntarily awakened from their slumber. They sensed an incredibly terrifying aura approaching them. At the same time, they had a strong premonition. They have reached the end of the line. Lady Tianqing, the ruler of Tianqing Island, suddenly appeared inside the main hall of Tianqing. Her face was filled with an expression of panic. He sensed a terrifying sense of impending danger was looming over Tianqing Island, and if not handled properly, it could even bring about their utter destruction. The island master radiated waves of fear through his thoughts. People are flocking toward the Heavenly Star Palace. A terrifying presence is approaching. We all feel utterly powerless to resist, completely irresistible. There's no need to panic just yet. Although Lady Heavenly Star feels anxious herself, she still has to reassure everyone else. However, she currently has no idea where the threat is coming from. She is unable to come up with a response, even though she can sense some changes in the future. But even she couldn't be entirely certain. These changes are bound to happen. Outside the Sky Star Island, Ming Kong gazed at the Sky Star Island area, feeling a rush of joy in his heart. This place surprisingly has no connection to other regions at all, and there don't seem to be many experts around either. But compared to the population ratio in other places, why are there so many people fated to die in this area? He drifted towards Sky Star Island at an unhurried pace. As he approached Tianqing Island, Lady Tianqing finally sensed Ming Kong's presence. In an instant, Lady Tianqing appeared in front of Ming Kong. "It's you despicable creatures again," Lady Tianqing shouted angrily. Not long ago, Tianqing Island was also harassed by a group of people in black robes. Later, it was discovered the black-robed individuals could be sent to Qin Yun's sect for imprisonment. They ended up sending dozens of them there. And now, unexpectedly, another figure in a black robe appeared. Madame Tianqing was the first to take action. A mid-stage tribulation crossing cultivator struck down with immense force towards Ming Kong. This time, Madame Tianqing didn't plan on capturing the black-robed figure, because she had just sensed a tremendous threat. Her immediate thought was to kill the black-robed figure first and deal with everything else later. As for whether resurrection was possible, that could be evaluated afterward. But the mid-stage tribulation crossing power landed directly on Ming Kong. It was as if it had fallen upon an illusion, passing through as if it didn't exist. Madame Tianqing felt a jolt in her heart. He instantly realized trouble was brewing. Those black-robed figures from before could be killed with just a little force. But this black-robed figure couldn't even be touched. A thought flickered in his mind. In an instant, a surge of universal power rose between heaven and earth. The domain of the Tao unfolded. The domain of Tao enveloped Ming Kong. "Who are you?" Lady Tianxin asked coldly. Ming Kong spoke softly and calmly. "It's not yet the time for me to come looking for you. When the time comes, you will know who I am. Now please step aside." "Arrogant!" Lady Tianxin shouted sharply. Instantly, Tao's jade power struck towards Ming Kong with lethal force. The power of her Tao also pressed down upon Ming Kong with immense oppression. Ming Kong gazed indifferently at Lady Tianxin, saying that all death in the world is under the dominion of my lord, even if my lord's dominion is protected by the sacred artifact of my lord. How could you possibly harm the servants of my lord? I advise you not to act recklessly, or it will not end well for you." Lady Tianxin felt even more shocked in her heart. This terrifying entity actually has a master. He exerted his full power to continue suppressing the man in the black robe with the great Tao. However, the man in the black robe remained completely indifferent. When all the power reached the man in the black robe, it simply vanished into thin air. Madame Tianxin grew increasingly uneasy in her heart. After all, she was at the mid-stage of the tribulation realm. Yet she couldn't do anything to this man in the black robe. This mysterious figure in the black robe must be the one who brought disaster upon Tianxin Island and plunged it into a crisis of destruction. At this very moment, within Tianxin Island, those countless powerful beings whose lifespans had run out were consumed by overwhelming fear, each one frantically sending messages to Lady Tianxin in a state of terror, feeling as though death was imminent. Lady Tianxin herself was deeply unsettled, even though she had reached the tribulation crossing stage. The existence of this black-robed figure before her was beyond anything she could comprehend. What unsettled her even more was the overwhelming sense of dread she felt. He couldn't even get close to touching the man in the black robe. As things stand now, it seems there's only one way left. Lady Tianxin, her face slightly pale, looked at Ming Kong. "Even though I don't know exactly what you are, as long as you remain standing in this world, I will find a way to deal with you." A miniature magical treasure, Karina Dreamlaikora, enveloped the entire Tianxin Island. Time flows like a river, exiling the future. Lady Tianxin shouted sharply at the sky. The entire space of Tianxin Island began to tremble. The star-shrinking artifact radiated a light that illuminated thousands of miles. Then the space quivered. The figure in the black robe and the star-shrinking artifact vanished completely. Lady Tianxin flew back to the main hall of Tianxin. She sat down, her face pale and drained. At that moment, other divine senses started to converge at the Tianxin main hall. When we asked the island master, we sensed that the threat had disappeared. Has the danger been completely eliminated? Madame Tianxin gave a sorrowful smile. Without that black-robed man, it would be impossible to kill. Not even the strongest force could touch him. What's most critical is, this man in the black robe has a master. I could only rely on the power of the celestial Qi time shuttle to exile him 15 years into the future. However, the time shuttle has already left with the man in the black robe. 15 years later, our Tianxin Island is now lacking an artifact with immortal energy to uphold its presence. If another black-robed figure arrives, then we will have no other means to counter them. If I can't reach the late stage of the tribulation crossing in 15 years, or even the realm of true immortals, Tianxin Island will still face the same fate as before. Countless divine senses fell into complete silence. Even though Lady Tianxin is at the mid-stage of the tribulation crossing, still at the mid-stage of tribulation. It has been hundreds of years, but reaching the late stage of tribulation is absolutely not that simple, let alone achieving the realm of true immortality. In other words, they only managed to delay the tragedy by 15 years. At this point, the only option is to unite with others to confront this matter. Lady Tianxin appeared sorrowful. Their Tianqing Island originally had no intention of getting involved in the world's conflicts. However, this time their Tianqing Island was nearly destroyed. Thinking of Yiling and the visions of the future seen there, chaos spread across the land. Who can remain unaffected amidst such turmoil? Fortunately, there's still 15 years left. I have ample time to make proper arrangements. Lady Tianqing spoke in a solemn tone. What we must do now is to seek out allies. Join us in facing the situation 15 years from now. The island master is correct. Dao Jing raised a question. So who should we seek to form an alliance with? Madame Tianqing fell into deep thought. He contemplated over and over. Currently, there are two factions most suitable for forming an alliance. One of them is the Wanling sect. Wanling sect's Zhou Xian has reached the late stage of tribulation. With his formidable level and strength, there might be a way to deal with the one in the black robe, especially after Zhou Xian advanced to the late stage of the tribulation. It has been several centuries. If progress can be made further within 15 years, reaching the true immortal realm, that would ensure even greater security. Another potential ally is the Qingyun sect. The demon of the Qingyun sect might be the key to opposing the black-robed figure. The ultimate decision lies in choosing between the two sects. As for being an ally, Lady Tianqing is also well aware that there are conflicts between the Qingyun sect and the Wanling sect. Choosing one to ally with means giving up on the other is simply out of the question. So the real dilemma lies in whether to choose the most advanced Zhou Xiansheng or to side with the demon. This left Lady Tianqing deeply torn for a while, but she is not in a rush to decide just yet, because Tianqing Island still has 15 years to prepare. Compared to the tense situation on Tianqing Island, the atmosphere in Yunshao Palace of Langya Holy Land has always been much more relaxed. When the black-robed figures first appeared, all three factions were on high alert. They were wary since the forbidden land of Yunmings was right next to them, and the black-robed figures kept emerging, seemingly undying. Who wouldn't be on edge in such a situation? Ever since they sent the black-robed figures to be imprisoned by the Qingyun sect, no more black-robed figures have appeared since then. Gradually, the three factions began to lower their guard. Naturally, this incident served as a wake-up call for the three major powers. It reminded them that Yunmings lives up to its reputation as a forbidden land. And because of Yunming's nature as a forbidden zone, the three powers showed a tacit understanding. By refraining from sending anyone into Yunmings to investigate the cause, they couldn't help but worry that sending people into Yunmings might result in them never returning. What's more concerning is, if they provoke something within the forbidden land, that would be the most terrifying outcome. The chaos caused by the black-robed figures across the land gradually subsided. At this moment, Yiling had more or less visited all the major sects across the land, completing a full round of visits. After making this round, he had gained a clear understanding of the situations within each sect. As for Capricorn, no one seemed to care about it at all. Or perhaps it could be said that everyone's understanding of Capricorn was entirely based on the demonic figure from the Qingyun sect. In such a situation, 1-0's warning about Capricorn's behavior ended up being a laughable act. 1-0 let out a sigh and said to the guardian Wen Qing beside him, "Even though I've clearly told them about Capricorn's danger, why does no one seem to care?" Wen Qing remained silent for a moment and then slowly replied, "Perhaps it's because the world has been peaceful for too long." Yiling nodded silently. He had read numerous ancient texts on Tianqing Island and reviewed some of the historical events of the world. The cultivation world only truly settled down a mere few thousand years ago, especially after driving the demon clans back to the great 10,000 mountains, leaving only internal conflicts among the cultivators. However, due to the balance maintained by the 10 great sects, these internal disputes among cultivators were not overly intense. Over the course of these several thousand years, there were only two significant upheavals. One of the changes was that the demon clans of the 100,000 mountains wiped out a super sect and then retreated back to the 100,000 mountains. The second change was the arrival of a demonic entity at Qingyun sect 1,000 years ago. In the end, a once thriving great sect was reduced to barely surviving. Although these two changes were terrifying, but it remained confined within a single sect. Or rather, it was limited to a single continent, having almost no significant impact on other forces. It hardly made any noticeable difference. If one had to point out a change, it would be from more than a year ago, when a nine great sect of the world joined forces to attack the Qingyun sect. However, this shift quickly came to an end, with the nine sects compensating with a tremendous sum of money. There wasn't any major upheaval that truly swept across the entire world of immortal cultivation. Everyone has been living steadily for far too long. So who would actually care about Capricorn? That being said, the Qingyun sect and the Langya Holy Land still show remarkable foresight. They have consistently kept their attention on Capricorn. Perhaps it's because they've been closely involved with the demon recently. Yiling said faintly, "Let's go. Senior Wenching, we should visit the Qingyun sect one more time." The group then headed back to the Qingyun sect once more. When they returned to the Qingyun sect again, a massive city had already emerged outside the Qingyun sect. Although many of its internal areas were still not completely filled, the entire framework of the grand city had already been fully established. Towering walls surrounded the vast city. Intricate defensive runes were carved into the city walls, indicating that these walls were likely far more than mere decoration. They arrived at Qingyun City once again. In Yiling, there was no way to find a path into Qingyun City. While they were searching for a way to enter, a cultivator at the Golden Core stage flew over, warmly addressing Yiling, saying that senior brother mentioned, "The changes in Qingyun City have been quite significant lately," and asked me to guide esteemed guests arriving from afar. "Honorable Signor, please follow me through the Xuanwu Gate to enter Qingyun City." Yiling followed the Qingyun disciple at the Golden Core stage, who was serving as their guide, and flew towards the so-called Xuanwu Gate. After entering Azure Cloud City through the Xuanwu Gate, a massive arena immediately came into view. Next to the arena were seats that could accommodate tens of thousands of people, arranged in a circle around the arena. "Isn't Azure Cloud City a place where fighting is forbidden?" Yiling asked with curiosity. "Why is there still an arena?" The guiding disciple responded with a smile. "It is precisely because Azure Cloud City forbids fighting." That senior brother said he wanted to provide an outlet for everyone who wished to act. A cultivator searches for a way out. This arena serves as an outlet for those who wish to engage in combat. The entire area where the arena is located has been named Xuanwu District in Qingyun City. Apart from the Xuanwu District, it consists of the location of the original Qingyun town, which is now called Qingyun District, along with the surrounding Qinglong, Zhuke, and Baihu districts. The entire Qingyun City is divided into 6 major districts, including the Xuanwu District. All other areas are fully inhabited. Only Xuanwu District is particularly unique. It's just this arena. After the arena was established, people no longer need to leave Qingyun City for duels. Everything can be resolved within the city. As long as you report to the Qingyun City Lord's Mansion, you can step onto the stage for a duel. In this way, those eager to take action now have a place to vent. Everyone else can simply enjoy the spectacle. It also contributes to the revenue of Qingyun City. Isn't that a good thing? The guiding disciple led the Tianxing Island group. While introducing Qingyun City, they passed through Xuanwu Avenue and reached Qingyun District, which was formerly known as Qingyun Town. Upon arriving at Qingyun District, the guiding disciple smiled and said to the seniors, "My task is to guide you to Qingyun District. As for the rest of the journey, you'll have to head to the sect by yourselves. Our Qingyun City has just been established recently. There are still many things that we lack. If there is any shortcoming in our hospitality, we ask for your understanding." After finishing his words, the guiding disciple left straight away. As for Yiling and the others, they headed to the Qingyun guest house with a sense of amazement. They had merely traveled around the world just once. By the time they returned, Qingyun City had already undergone changes. The transformation in Qingyun was truly astonishing. Upon reaching the Qingyun guest house, Chun Xiao immediately arranged for someone to escort Yiling to the sect. Fellow Taoist Yiling, I assume that over this period of time, you have already visited other sects. How are things going? Fang Chun asked directly without beating around the bush. Yiling let out a sigh, remarking that people still don't give enough importance to Capricorns, and their attention toward them remains insufficient. It seems like only you all have shown some degree of concern. Fang Chun nodded with a smile. This is actually not their fault, because they have never had any direct encounters with the demon. They are unaware of the terror the demon brings, and have not received any information from the demon itself. In this world, in the end, it still relies on people to carry the burden forward. At the moment when everything collapses, someone needs to reach out and save the masses. On this path, our Qingyun sect and Langya Sacred Land have already taken the lead. We wonder if your Tianqing Island will be willing to join us. His words were full of righteousness, as if he truly were a lone hero. If the sage master were to hear these words, he would never believe them in any way. But Yiling believed it. After all, he had interacted too little with Fang Chun. Yiling looked at Fang Chun and spoke honestly. The reason I came back to the Qingyun sect this time is to propose an alliance with Qingyun sect. Our Tianqing Island is willing to join forces with Qingyun sect and Langya Sacred Land together to contribute to the fight against the impending calamity of magic. Fang Chun felt a trace of surprise in his heart. Why did the woman agree after circling the world and returning? Since Yiling has already expressed the intention to form an alliance, Fang Chun no longer felt the need to rush. He asked with a smile, although we are very willing to see Tianqing Island stand alongside us. But fellow Taoist Yiling, can your words truly represent Tianqing Island? He calmly and thoughtfully spoke. He has the authority to make decisions on behalf of Tianqing Island. Fang Chun was genuinely astonished this time. A cultivator at the Divine Soul Realm could actually determine the matters of a major sect. Does it mean that Yiling holds a position on Tianqing Island similar to his own, with a unique and exceptional status? Wen Qin gave Fang Chun a meaningful look and said, "You are merely at the nascent soul realm, yet you've also represented the Qingyun sect in making many important decisions." He did not elaborate on how unique the identity of Yiling was. Fang Chun gave a slight nod. He acknowledged Wen Qin's statement and said that since Tianqing Island and we have decided to join forces, then may I ask how you plan to express your stance next? With a serious expression, Yiling stated, "After we return to Tianqing Island, we will make a public announcement about forming an alliance with the Qingyun sect. At the same time, the two sects will also initiate follow-up cooperative actions." Jiang Chun also seriously expressed his stance. "All right, then we will wait for your Tianqing Island's response. Once your official statement is made, our Qingyun sect will align with Langya Holy Land to make a stand, declaring that the three of us are united as one. We sincerely hope that when the demonic calamity arrives, we can truly contribute something meaningful for all living beings. Furthermore, after I truly form an alliance with Tianqing Island, I also hope both sides can engage in deeper cooperation and exchange. For example, our Qingyun sect currently holds a large number of black-robed individuals in custody. This has increased the strain on the Tianqing Extreme Cloud Array. We are in urgent need of supreme-grade spirit stones to enhance the power of the array. If Tianqing Island is willing to provide some supreme-grade spirit stones, we are prepared to offer something in exchange, such as the River Channel Pill. This demonstrates our sincerity as allies." Lin asked in surprise, "Are you willing to offer the River Channel Pill?" Fang Chun smiled faintly. "After all, we are allies, aren't we? Langya Holy Land as our ally. We also ceded a Riverway Pill to them. The price was 50 top-grade spirit stones. If Tianqing Island is willing, the price will be the same. Of course, there are other items Tianqing Island is willing to offer. As long as our Qingyun sect can provide them, we can achieve mutual benefits. Right now, he just wants to gather some top-grade spirit stones, restore the full power of the Tianqing Extreme Cloud Formation. According to Qinji Yunzi's estimation, at least 1,000 top-grade spirit stones are still needed to bring it back to its peak state. Last time, Over 100 pieces were obtained from the Langya Holy Land. This time, the plan is to get some more from Tianqing Island. Ling Zero glanced at Fang Chun and nodded slightly. Since the Qingyun sect has demonstrated sincere allyship, we are willing to trade with 50 top-grade spirit stones to obtain the nuclear missile. In addition to this, Tianqing Island possesses the one-of-a-kind deep-sea essence in the world, something that all other sects desire greatly. This rare treasure can be traded with the Qingyun sect, as long as the Qingyun sect offers a reasonable price. Fang Chun nodded.